Alrighty, welcome to episode 127 of Topwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. Tesla has posted record quarterly and annual results in its Q4 and financial year 2022 update document. Q4 2022 saw Tesla achieve its highest quarterly revenue, operating income, and net income in its history. Annual income grew by 51% year on year to $81.5 billion and GAAP net income more than doubled year on year to $12.6 billion. Tesla's annual results report has shown impressive growth in its energy storage business. Total energy storage installed in 2022 has increased over 150% year on year to 6.5 gigawatt hours. This total exceeds Tesla's entire cumulative energy storage deployment since inception up to and including 2020. In order to satisfy increasing demand, Tesla has reiterated its plans to ramp Megapack production to 40 gigawatt hours at its Lathrop factory in California. With Tesla exceeding $75 billion of trailing 12-month revenue in Q4 2022, the final milestone of Elon Musk's 10-year 2018 CEO compensation plan has been completed. Tesla has announced that it has recognised and paid the final $4 million tranche owed to Elon Musk and that the CEO compensation plan has now come to an end. This means that Musk is no longer being paid by Tesla for any work he undertakes for the time being. Tesla's long-awaited refreshed Model S has finally arrived in Australia. The car spotted in Queensland was, however, not imported for sale since it is left-hand drive, but will instead be used for heat testing in order to confirm its ability to cope with local Australian conditions. In fantastic news for all EV owners, Tesla have opened up 5 supercharger locations in New South Wales for all EVs to use. These initial locations are Tamworth, Dubbo, Hollydean, Bathurst and Narooma. The cost for non-Tesla EVs to use superchargers on an ad hoc basis is 79 cents per kilowatt hour or 66 cents per kilowatt hour when subscribed to a $9.99 monthly membership. By way of comparison, the cost for Teslas to charge at superchargers is currently 66 cents per kilowatt hour with no subscription costs. And that was this week's news. Indeed it was, and welcome everyone to another episode of Ask Us Anything. As is customary, I'd like to invite anyone who is new and comfortable in doing so to please introduce yourselves. So if you'd like to unmute, please say hello.
I'm David Anthony, and
Welcome, David.
yeah, I don't know if you can. Hopefully, you can hear me okay. I just downloaded the Zoom, so
Yes. I was going to say loud and clear, a little bit faint, but yeah, we can hear you perfectly. Tell us about your awesome car.
picking one, just a standard Model 3 up next week, and yeah, I ordered it back in, I think it's April or potentially even the end of March, so it's taken a while, but yeah, particularly just wanted to ask about level 2 charging and get some ideas on where to go. And I think I had an EV. I lived in the US for a while, came back 5 years ago, and I had a BMW i3 in 2014, but that had a much smaller battery pack. So just charging off the standard socket there was never an issue. But yeah, I'm just thinking about adding range in a reasonable way so you don't feel, you don't get range anxiety, if you like.
Absolutely. The good news is, look, initially you don't have to do anything in a hurry. Your car will come with a UMC, which is the Universal Mobile Connector, and that's capable of charging the car either at 10 amps or at 15 amps if you've got a 15 amp, like a caravan socket in your house or attached to your house. And that will replenish your car, say even just a 10 amp plug, will replenish your car at over 120 kilometers of range added overnight.
Overnight, okay.
So that's what you can do initially. Further down the road, you can then, for instance, purchase a Tesla high power wall connector, known as a HPWC. Depending on whether you've got 3-phase or single-phase power, that will charge your car at about between 50 kilometers an hour of added range, up to 80 kilometres of added range if you've got a three-phase house.
Yes, true.
And you can just get that on Tesla. Just go to tesla.com. Just make sure you click on to Australia. So, for example,
Yeah, in the region when you
yeah,
yeah,
just make sure you pick Australia because frustratingly, when you actually
default.
go, oh, actually, initially, this time it has actually kept up with Australia, but normally you're just into the US site. So you just go menu, get off the United States, go to Australia, and then just click on shop, and then you'll see charging, and you've got the Gen 3
Right.
wall connector for $750.
Yeah. So,
Now
so the
you
cars are still coming with a Gen 2 UMC then, because it sounded, I couldn't tell really when you look at the website, it looked like some of them weren't being shipped with anything now.
so we currently we believe that all cars coming in this quarter do
Should have.
have will have a UMC supplied,
Okay.
regardless of when you ordered. Actually, in your case,
April.
you actually did have you were entitled to one anyway when you ordered your
Okay.
car. But for the sake of anyone else listening, even if you've ordered your car, I think it was in June, July, when the UMCs were no longer part of the
It was
included price.
it was the 10th of July, Harold.
Great, thanks, Pete. So, for those who ordered their cars after then, you would customarily have not received a UMC, but we believe, and Tesla has confirmed that all cars being delivered this quarter, possibly later too, we don't know that yet, but certainly this quarter will have a UMC.
Brilliant.
And like I said, you can add more than 120 kilometres of range overnight. But on the other hand, if you want to do, look, one of the most convenient appliances you can get is the Gen 3 wall connector. Like I said, it's suitable for single or three-phase houses. Uh, as far as getting it installed, you can just get quotes from ordinary electricians. It's not a technical product. It's basically just a simple appliance, just like any other electrical
Okay.
fitting. So,
Yeah, I'm guessing it'll be a three-phase, what do you call it, three-pole circuit breaker on in the switchboard. So as long as you got space for that, and then a cable run and maybe just like a isolation switch or
yes, that's right. So your electrician will know what to do. There's a little bit of debate whether you need an RCD. I think the wall connector has a built-in RCD, but that's up to the electrician to sort that out. In any case, yeah, that's sort of one of the simplest solutions, most convenient solution. You can just use your UMC, which is your mobile connector, and plug it into a general purpose outlet. The only issue there is you sort of need to remember to unplug it if you're going to go on a road trip because you might leave it home if you forgot to unplug it and put it back in your car. So
uh,
look, these cars aren't cheap.
yeah,
Life is short, and if you want that great convenience, for an extra say $1,000 or maybe $1,200-$1,300 in complete, including installation, you can just go and get a wall connector.
brilliant. No, very good advice. Thank you.
Cool, and once again, welcome and congratulations on what's going to be an awesome car next week.
Looking forward to it.
I've often joked that the delivery process is very quick. If you fired off a gun at one end of the delivery centre, the bullet you would beat the bullet to the other end of the delivery centre as you received your car. That's not really entirely true, but the delivery process can be very quick if you like it to be. Actually, one great pro tip is make sure that you've logged into your Tesla account on a web browser. So just on your phone.
Yes.
You can also log in to your Tesla app, obviously, but to actually accept the car, you need to be logged into Tesla's website on a internet browser.
Okay.
And once, basically what happens is they'll congratulate you, they'll hand over the keys, and then they'll ask you to accept delivery, and you just look at your account and up will come an icon that says accept delivery. Once you've done that, the car's transferred to you, you have full control of it. And then you can inspect your car. have a thorough look. You don't feel too obliged to have to pick everything, to the finest minutiae. Tesla are very reasonable. Within a number of days, if you find an issue, a paint blemish or something like that, you can just book a service call through your Tesla app and just describe the fault, take photos. You can actually submit photos through your Tesla app, and they can sort that out later at your convenience. So don't feel pressured that you have to sort of make sure it's perfect there and then. But on the other hand, there is ample parking right next to this delivery centre, and you can just park your car somewhere sort of open space and sit there for hours if you like, admiring the paintwork and looking through the car.
How many of these cars are there in WA now? In terms of actual Tesla numbers, because I see them on the road all the time.
It's thousands now.
Okay.
If you think about the ship that actually bought your car, that was a couple of weeks ago when it arrived, there were 499 cars in that shipment. There's another ship that's about to arrive with another 500 cars. In the December quarter, there were a similar number of cars. So you could say in the last 12 months, we've had 2,500 cars roughly come in. Fresh cars.
Should be over 4,000 in WA by now.
Yep.
Oh, so yeah, so the whole support infrastructure and everything will be pretty good. Actually, that's a lot more than
Actually, it's interesting you bring that up, David. Rob and I were just talking about that about 10 minutes ago, and I have a question for you, Harold, but happy to leave that till later on.
Yeah, cool. Actually, cool.
On that exact point. Yeah.
Well,
no, it's good. I should let someone else speak. But what I will tell you, like I left Texas. I worked for BHP in Texas for 13 years, and I left in end of 2016. But there were Teslas everywhere there. And then when I came here, there was really none. And just in 5 years, it's just it's amazing to see it. And even I know we're a little bit behind with the supercharger network, but whereas in the States, it's well, you guys will know this because I'm sure you've been over there. It's happening, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a very stark comparison that you can make, and that is if you look on PlugShare, which is the easiest way to do it, and you look at Australia's supercharger network, and that's it right here. And if we just zoom over to the States, it's just not going to show them all. And that's not all of them. That's nowhere near all of them. And if you go into a little state called California, it just, and Tesla haven't put all of them on there, a little bit slack.
Yeah.
They sometimes don't bother putting all the sites on PlugShare. But, just the San Francisco Bay Area has more than all of Australia combined.
But even in a place like Texas, which is oil friendly, I mean, there's wind power in the Panhandle area, and there was so many electric Teslas, running around, Model S's, the Roadsters, and then it's which surprised me really, but it's good to see.
Absolutely. Well, welcome again. Now, what I'll do is, if there's anyone else that's new, please do say hello and introduce yourselves. Sorry, yourself.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I've been lurking for a while, but I finally got my Tesla 2 days ago. Just put the Stealth EV hitch on today. But I did
Fantastic.
Yes, I love it. I did have a question about the wall charger because I'm having difficulty commissioning it. It goes on the internet, it connects to the internet of the wall charger, but then it just keeps dropping out after a couple of seconds. I'm just wondering if anyone had any suggestions about how to fix that.
I've got to confess that I don't own a Gen 3 wall charger, and I've never played with one. Has anyone had a good play with a charger? The Gen 3?
No, well, I might
Ooh.
contact one of the companies that do them, and because I just had a normal electrician put it in, but I might contact one of the companies that specialize it and see if they can come out and fix it.
So, Sarah,
I've got one.
if
Okay,
you have a
Lee.
look, if you have a look in the chat, I put my mobile number in there. feel
Oh, yeah.
free to send me your details and I'll get it one of my electricians. He's installed his first wall connector back like 5 years ago.
Okay, yes.
And he did a couple for me just a couple of weeks ago. So
Yes.
I'll ask him on your behalf if you like.
Oh, great. That'd be fantastic. Thanks very much.
No problem.
Lee, you've played with one. How did you find it?
I noticed the other day actually it dropped off the network, off my Wi-Fi network, but that just powered it off, powered it back on, it came back on easily enough. Yeah, so you can actually, can you connect to the charger itself, like the wall connector at the moment, and can you see the it lets amperage you've got it set to and everything's working there, or what's, because you can connect to the network of the actual wall connector itself as well and look at it on there. So can you see that's working still?
Yeah,
or?
Comes up on my phone with the, saying Telstra wall connector, and then it just disappears really quickly.
So have you been able to actually set the parameters? So you've set it up for the correct current setting and all that sort of stuff. Is it actually working with your car at the moment, or you
Not
haven't gotten
working.
that far yet?
No, I set up the parameters and then it had a software update. And I've been trying to download that, but every time I try, it just falls out of the internet and stops working.
Okay, so you did set the parameters, but is it charging the car at the moment, or it's not doing that?
No.
Oh, right.
How far away is your wireless access point to the charger?
It's about 10 meters, but I've checked and the computer still works that far away. So I'm assuming maybe.
What you could try is with your modem, they often have multiple antennas at the back.
Yep.
So what you could do is just change. It's good for the modems to change the angle. So some modems have sort of 3 antennas, and they're on like little swivels, and it's actually good practice to have them in the 3 different directions. So one upwards, one facing backwards, and one to the side. So they're all at right angles to each other. So then that sort of gives you the best sort of spread of antenna directions, which might help.
Okay.
Is your internet 5G or just normal 4G?
I think it's 5G.
I think 5G probably have an issue. I did have 5G, and
Yes.
the wall connector, it won't let me commission. It's not connecting to the internet.
Right.
Yeah, I think you've got to do some setup, like tune it, set it to the lower version, and have a go.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, 2.4 gigahertz probably. If it's not working on 5, I'm going back to 2.4.
Okay.
Yeah, probably some of that as well. But yeah, obviously Pete can't help you. I'm sure someone else can help you out as well hopefully someone gives you a hand with that from his place.
Thank you.
And yeah,
sorry.
absolutely. And in any case, definitely welcome to the Tesla family.
Oh,
Well, and any other questions, please feel free to ask them. I'll see if there's anyone else that's new that would like to say hello. Nope, that's fine. Okay, well, if anyone does, you can always do that a little bit later on. Now, very quickly, so Pete, keep in mind what you were going to bring up. Since Charles is here, I'm trying to find him. He's disappeared? Oh, no, there he is. Right, he was right next to me. Sorry. So since you're here, Charles, and you are joining us deeply into the future, in fact, it's nearly 11 o'clock, and I wouldn't say that you need any beauty sleep, but it's always good to have a healthy amount of sleep. I've got a little quiz, a pop quiz. Maybe Charles, you might like to run this. You can be quiz master. So
I can just do narrations if you like over the pictures.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's do this. So hopefully you can see that. So how would you like to play this, Charles? I'll let you compare this for a little bit.
Oh, well, first of all, I'll just see if anyone knows where this is with no hints.
Tasmania.
Cradle Mountain?
Tasmania somewhere, surely.
That's a
Is
very
that
good
Cradle
start.
Mountain?
Not Cradle Mountain, no.
Not Cradle Mountain, but Tassie.
Looks like Sheffield. Is it Sheffield?
Yep. Who was that? Who won that?
Sarah Abigail.
Oh, yep, well done. It is Sheffield.
Yeah, it's beautiful there.
That's Mount Roland in the background there.
Thought it was.
Now, the next part of the question is, what does this have to do with EVs?
Oh, there was the national EV meet, the Tasmanian EV meet there earlier last week.
That's right. Yes. And do you know? Okay. And I don't know if we have any more pictures with more details.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So I'll just check that the picture's in the correct order.
Oh,
Owned by Simon Hackett, who has Teslas and basically Redflow batteries. for
There we
power
go.
Property.
that's the one.
Electric
So-
glider.
So there's the Tesla. There's the Roadster, and the Pipistrel.
That's right. These ones actually weren't my picks from the day. They were ones that I sent previously. But yeah, for those who don't know, Simon Hackett, who was the founder and CEO of Internode for a long time, he is based in Adelaide, but he lives part-time at Sheffield in Tassie, where he's bought a property which he'll eventually retire to, although he doesn't seem like the kind of person who will retire. I think he just loves doing stuff, but it's where he'll do his more relaxing work, perhaps. But he's also an amateur pilot, and he flies directly from Adelaide Airport and lands on the strip in his backyard in Sheffield. He says it's 2.5 hours, which is a shorter commute than a lot of people in Melbourne and Sydney might have to put up with, I reckon. But you can see in the picture there, pretty close to the middle. Yep, there's the airstrip. And if you go up from the airstrip a bit to the left, there's 4 rows of things on the field there. That is 200 kilowatts of solar. So once he bought the farm, about 7 years ago. He started making some serious improvements to the property, I think he would describe it as. So
Wow.
yeah, he's got 200 kilowatts of solar, and in the building just behind it, there's 280 kilowatt hours of battery storage of Redflow batteries.
So
Yeah.
so you could say he's well and truly off the grid, or at least he's able to be off the grid for
He
quite a
is.
while if he wants to be.
He is. I think he built the array of that size so that in winter he could get 20 kilowatts a day out of it, kind of thing. Yeah. So he's also, for those who don't know, he was the first Australian owner of a Roadster, and he was also the first left-hand drive, the first owner of a right-hand drive Australian delivered Roadster. And I don't know if it was the first Model S, but one of the first at the signature launch event. So one
I
of
think
those
he's got
Model S's.
the first 2 Model S's.
Oh, he's got more than 2 actually. Harold, I sent you another link in the chat.
Oh.
which has a few more pictures of the day.
Cool. Sorry, let me just expand out the chat.
Oh,
Oh, yes, there we go. Yep.
And there was actually something else. Let me try and find it.
Okay, so I'll see if I can bring these photos up. Okay, here we go. So this is Chuck's slide night. I don't know how you can actually go. Can we forward? No, you can't do that.
And yeah,
Okay,
can't go forward next?
back to photo set. No. Sorry about this. I'm just going to have to do it a little bit improvised.
right. You probably don't want to go through all the pictures, but
No. So this is obviously Simon Hackett's. This is his setup with the.
yeah, these are all his inverters that's running the batteries basically. So I think they're, what brand is it? Victron? I'm not sure.
I think they look like. Oh wow! Look at this. These are Redflow
They're the
batteries. Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so Simon invested in this company a few years ago, and basically they're an Australian company that make zinc bromine batteries, which are different to lithium in many ways. They've got a few advantages and a few disadvantages, but one of the advantages is that they don't degrade at all. Basically, they sort of cycle themselves every few days, and that cycling process keeps them at 100% capacity all the time.
And you can actually deplete them all the way to zero. You can basically go from 100 down to zero without
That's it. Yep.
any regard.
Yeah, and he says they're good at stationary storage. They're not good at energy storage for vehicles for many reasons, and one of those is that they're full of liquid, so the liquid would move about when you accelerate. So yeah, so he said
Yes.
lithium's brilliant for cars, but he likes this for oh, there we go. Yeah, he likes this for stationary stuff.
Excellent. And then you've got an i3, a Kona, a
2 BYDs.
BYD. Yep, Attos. Yep. Awesome. We'll just go past and we'll see if there's anything else. There's his windsock, so it wasn't a windy day. That's uncharacteristic for Tassie. Oh, and there's a Starlink dish too.
That's it. That's it. He calls that little fenced area Pine Gap. That's his communications facility. It's the only spot on the property which can has signal from the Telstra 4G tower in one direction, the NBN fixed wireless tower in the other direction, and the Sky for Starlink. So all the incoming comms comes in there, and he has an underground fibre optic ring around all the buildings on the site.
So if we want to invade his property, we just need to take out this little outpost, and
now you know.
Basically, now we know.
That's right. Yeah.
And
his aircraft.
Guys, I've put a link to a YouTube video of Simon's presentation to AEVA.
Awesome.
If anyone wants to watch it later, yep.
How long's it go for, Pete?
Oh, it goes for over an hour. About an hour.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
No worries. Okay.
So,
well,
yeah, probably too long. As long
Yes.
as Ask Us Anything can get, it's probably too long just to play now.
yes, absolutely. And we just go back to the nerdy stuff. So I think they are Victrons. It looks like Victron.
That's right.
And there's like that is a stack of inverters.
I think he's got 28.
Wow. That's there's a bit of inverter porn there, but
That's right.
yes, I think a lot of us are very envious, but we don't have that kind of acreage and the
No,
bucks
that's
to do that.
That's right. Yeah. So I'll also put a link in the chat there to his slides which he presented, so people can look through those. There's about 70 pictures. So yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Charles, do you
That's
remember
awesome.
how big his property is?
Sorry.
Do you remember how big his property is? How many acres?
He said how big it was, but I don't remember exactly. I could be guessing. I could be mixing up acres and hectares. I wouldn't be entirely accurate, I don't think.
Doesn't matter.
Just looking on the event page to see if there's anything, but don't see anything. No. I can do a quick look up while people keep chatting about other stuff and get back.
Oh no, it's all good.
Long enough to have a runway on it at least. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks a lot for that, Charles. Really appreciate it. And of course, how did it all go? I no doubt it was a resounding success.
Yeah, there was about 40 people there or so, something like that. We saw his aircraft. Lots of questions about his electric glider and things like that, gliders and that sort of thing. And it was a good place for everyone who likes driving long distances to gather, because we don't get much of a chance to do the long trips in Tassie. So this was 580 k's in one day for me. So that's it's more than people would normally drive in Tassie in a day. You fall off the edge otherwise if you don't go back.
That's right. I mean, if you do the lap, what's the big lap of Tassie? Is that 1,000 k's?
About 1,000
1,200?
or 1,200 maybe, depending on how you do it.
Yeah. Definitely looking forward to doing that one day. Definitely. And look, the great thing is you look at Tassie and it doesn't have many superchargers, so that it's kind of looking a little bit bare. But then when we flick up CCS,
Yep.
just look at that.
They're all-
That is awesome. That's impressive.
That's
That
great.
really is. Fantastic. Very good, Chuck. Thanks for that. And yeah, look forward to any other meetups that you can report on in Tassie. It's an awesome place to have meetups. Alrighty, now there was something else. Sorry, Pete, you were going to. Oh, and Atto girl Sarah, we're going to get you. We're going to introduce you to tell us your story too, because you've had a bit of an adventure. But Pete, you were going to mention something. So what was that before we forget?
No, I was just going to ask you, see if you remember. I couldn't. Rob was asking earlier today. Elon mentioned at some point a target ratio or a ratio of Teslas per supercharger, whether it's per station or per stall. It was years and years ago. I tried to Google it. I didn't have a huge amount of luck.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know whether he actually said it or did he. Oh, gee. The problem. You mean like that would be an earnings call or something like that he would have possibly mentioned something like that.
Like I said, I don't recall it at all. So, but
Yeah.
Rob seems to recall it. What we're trying to get at is we worked out there's about 260 Teslas per stall in WA at the moment, whereas the global average, from what I could find at the end of last year, at the end of Q3 last year, was about 82. So about 3 times as much as the global average. So, and that's just WA. So,
Yeah, and I think the official target is a lot less than that. I thought it was.
I think it was 40.
I thought even 50 or 40 was high as a target. As in, they wanted less than that. They wanted, less cars per stall, like much less than 50 or 40.
yeah.
So what are we, Pete? Sorry, 200 and
about 263, I think we worked out, something like that, versus 80 something for the global
average.
and that's per plug basically, rather than per station, because you can get your Cattleman cities with 96 stalls and but yeah.
Yeah, let me, here we go, update. The problem too is that supercharger stalls, there is a graph actually of supercharger deployment, and the thing is it's not catching up with supply
Well,
of
he
cars.
mentioned, I think it was a couple of earnings calls ago, or maybe even more, that they were installing, the rate of increase of superchargers was exceeding the number of cars being produced, but they're obviously not coming to Australia. So
No, and I think that was on a low base too, because Tesla was significantly behind a couple of years ago. I mean, they've, with the introduction of the dedicated plant in China producing superchargers, and there's also one in Lathrop.
Is it in New York?
Oh, yes.
It's the Buffalo one.
Buffalo facility. They're also producing superchargers, but I presume that's mainly for domestic purposes. I think Tesla may only barely be catching up, because really they've got to do 50% year on year of the entire fleet of, and
I think he was talking about 75 or 80% or something like that. In terms of superchargers. So but
and the thing too is because as we heard in the news, and it is really good news for Australia that Tesla has opened up at least 5 locations initially in New South Wales to all EVs. That is a more impetus to get more and more stalls. And in fact, since Chuck is in the building, I'm going to quote him, because he put up a good post on Tesla Motors Club, TMC forum, and which thing was it in, Chuck? What was the subject?
Actually, I've got it here.
It was
Harold.
superchargers in Australia, wasn't it?
That's it. Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, and I've just scrolling down the page, which makes for exciting television. It's on page 54, and I'm just going to, here we go. So
See if I can.
Chuck's gotten a subscription. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Here we
what's
go.
going on?
So
It's all right.
So-
It's all right. I stopped it.
yeah, that's cool. So Chuck, can you explain this, please? Oops. Tesla's market share
yeah.
for each state.
Yeah,
So-
so basically I just I had the VFAX data for each state and each model from all of last year. And so I just basically did a bit of spreadsheet work and added the Model 3 and the Model Y and divided by the total BEV sales in each state. And came up with that interesting set of numbers there.
Which is very interesting because WA is the winner at 65% of market share, or Tesla's the winner in WA.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was trying to work out what the reason, I was trying to see if the reason for this was everyone kept saying, oh, the only reason people buy Tesla is because of the supercharger network. If everyone can use them, they won't buy Teslas. And I thought, well, let's look at different states and see if that lines up. And it did make kind of sense until I got to WA, where you've got the highest percentage of sales and you've got only 4 or 5 superchargers active. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's not just we've got 65%, as you say there,
Yeah.
the highest percentage, but that's despite us being equal first with the highest cost
the cost.
per
Yeah,
Tesla
Yeah.
out of any of the states,
Yeah.
and also always being the last states to get any deliveries as well. One of the last states to get a service centre. I think Adelaide, I think Rob was saying that Adelaide had 4 South Australia had 4 superchargers before we got our first in 2017. So, yeah, we have been behind by quite a lot and still managed to post up those figures. So,
yeah. I think someone else said that South Australia's sales were pretty slow until they got their showroom, and then once people can do test drives, it then took off. So I don't know if the same thing happened with you guys. I suppose it's kind of aligned with, more shipments and things like that.
Absolutely. So we had sluggish sales because, there's a whole cohort of people across the age spectrum, but maybe more towards the middle age, where, to put it crudely, you just want to put your bum on the seat and you want to take it for a test drive. I mean, a lot of us people that got cars earlier on, I mean, I never sat in a Model X or never drove one until I got it in my driveway. So I ordered it and bought it completely sight unseen, completely blind. But there's a lot of people that just want to sit in the car in a showroom or any means and just sit in it, try it out. And then as we all know, as soon as you go for a test drive, you're gone for all money and you're going to just say, take my money, I just want it. And I think you can see Perth's sales have skyrocketed since the showroom opened, and that was only in December
2020.
20. Yep.
Yeah, and 2021, we had by far the biggest increase in Tesla sales out of any state by a huge margin. So we were over 2-fold increase in that year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know, Harold, I'd back you up on that bums on seats things, because while I bought my car unseen, the S here unseen, I had actually driven a demo left hooker in the UK that they'd imported for test drives, and I don't think I would have done that had I bought it unseen had I not done that. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's just, and you can't blame people for wanting to do that. I mean, and
not at all.
A couple of years ago, I think, was it 3 years ago now? Time does fly, but Elon Musk had stated that he was going to, if he intended to close all showrooms, and said, why waste money with showrooms? Everyone can just buy it online, which is what you do anyway. And quite a few of us were really worried about it because, you would potentially lose a big slab of your potential market. But thankfully that decision was reversed. And like I said, Perth has gone, in leaps and bounds. And,
Can I throw in a thought?
yes, Steve.
So one of the reasons that led us towards the Tesla was that at the time it was the range. It had a better range than the other EVs available. And as we're talking about, with the lack of superchargers and other chargers around the place, having the greater range is a huge comfort factor.
Yeah, absolutely. When there's no charging, range is king. When charging is ubiquitous, range is optional. You just don't need it. When you've got superchargers every 100 Ks, you don't need the range.
Yeah, you don't plan, you just drive.
You just drive.
Harold,
Absolutely.
my brother and I went from Sydney to Melbourne last week, and just sat in the car, just put in Sydney from Melbourne to Sydney. So just put in Sydney, and I just had a slew of superchargers come up. It recommended Gundagai and Wodonga. So just charged there 20 minutes each time, and 870 kilometre trip we did in less than 10 hours very comfortably with a full car. There was 8 of us all up in the Model Y and Model 3, full of luggage and everything. But yeah, very comfortably. Yeah.
Accommodated with no stress and
Zero stress.
and the fact that you didn't even have to enter in a single destination or a charging location into your navigation, into your, as a waypoint or whatever, the car just looks after it itself.
Yeah, didn't have to do anything. And my wife even said to me, in the morning, she goes, "Are you all ready for the trip? Have you, have you mapped out where we need to stop and blah, blah?" And I said, "Were you not in the car when we went from Sydney to Canberra? We broke up the Sydney to Melbourne journey with Canberra. We stayed a night in Canberra." And I said, "I didn't do any planning then. You just put in Canberra and off we went." I said, "That's all." Yeah, it's just so foreign for anyone in WA. It's just, but yeah, everyone on the East Coast just takes all that for granted. So,
Yeah, and absolutely.
rightly
And
so, but yeah.
that's right. I mean, and like you say, it is rightly so, because when you look at the map, you can go from north of Adelaide to Melbourne to Sydney to Brisbane to actually north of Brisbane. And like you say, Pete, you just, oops, sorry. I didn't have
All
the
the way
map
to
up.
Townsville.
From Adelaide to Melbourne to Sydney to basically nearly well, it will be Townsville once all the superchargers are in, but certainly north of Brisbane, without a care in the world.
There's a 300, it's not a supercharger, but there's two 350 kilowatt tritiums, I think, in Townsville.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, well, we used them, Pete.
Yeah,
Well,
that's right.
only one of them, but yeah, it was awesome. but the thing that was difficult, and this is where the comparison with superchargers and the fact that they are on the map and Tesla uses it to navigate, the difficulty when you go into the NRMA chargers or any of the Queensland Superhighway, Queensland Electric Superhighway chargers, QESH chargers, is you've got to manually enter in addresses as waypoints, and well, yeah, it's just a pain.
Or Harold, on PlugShare, you can actually send the pin to the car's navigation system. You don't need to enter in addresses.
But only one. You can't send it as a waypoint. You can only send it as a destination through your Tesla app.
Yep, true.
So then you've sort of got this line of, well, you kind of go from one stop to the next. But one of the techniques when you're doing a road trip using non-superchargers is there's always a possibility that when you get to that one charger, it's occupied. So you want to sort of you want to have, say, 3 chargers on your map so that you know the distances to all 3 of them. If the first one's, say, 50 Ks away, you go, well, I'm not going to bother going to that one. The next one might be 150 Ks, so that's probably what you aim for. But then you want to know what was the one after that, just in case that second one is occupied, broken, whatever. You want to know if you can get to the one after it. So you've got to usually have about 3 on the go on the boil, and then you sort of keep doing this sort of leapfrogging over, various charges. And that just, I know it's a first world problem, but it just becomes a bit laborious while you're driving. But with superchargers, you just enter it into the map.
Harold, you've described pretty well the route planning that we went to get to Brisbane. Where we're going to go. Check this one out, and if we could, that was a good one. Otherwise, make sure we had enough to get to another one, even if it meant slowing down a little bit just to get to it.
Exactly. Whereas if it's superchargers, you don't do that calculation. The car does it all for you, and it tells you how long you're going to spend there.
Yep.
And it'll tell you when you get to the final destination. So it'll tell you that it would have told Pete exactly what time he would have arrived in Sydney, and had he stuck to the actual formula precisely to what the car says, he would have arrived in that 9-10 hours that it predicted.
And we pretty much arrived within 20 minutes of what it said. So, and the other thing that it tells you is it tells you how many stalls are available before you get there. So before you need to get off the highway or what have you, whether that supercharger is full or empty or what have you. That said, I know I've never had, I've never been to a supercharger that was completely full. I've never had that happen to me in my life as yet. On your trip, Harold, did you ever go to a supercharger that was completely full?
Do you already have a job lined up there? Or
No. I've had some that were fairly occupied in Queensland, but not full. No, not. I never had to wait.
Yeah, I got to Eaton superchargers and they were full and 2 waiting.
Yes.
Yeah, was that Christmas?
It was a long weekend, yes.
I'm going to say Karen up. That's very full.
It can get full.
I think I was the last one to drive in, so I didn't have to wait, but it was full, including the slow charges.
And same thing in Gold Coast. I got in, and 2 minutes after I got in, another car came which had to wait. But even that car only had to wait for about 5 minutes before another one became available.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Is there anything we can do to actually get more charges? Do we have to do an event where we get 100 cars lined up at Karen Up or something to push them or something? I mean, I love Tesla, but I'm just like, God damn it, sorry for swearing. We really need more charges. It's now already like, I mean, hell, I had a Model Y parked next to me at work. I'm no longer the only Tesla in the village, So, with the amount of Teslas that are coming.
Look, Tesla knows that they do know, and there are quite a few supercharger locations in the planning that aren't pins on their map. I mean, we obviously already know about Albany. That's well and truly there. We know about Lancelin. Yes, Mandurah is on the map. Lancelin's been taken off the map. Albany was never on the map, but there are several other locations that they're also planning. I mean, there was the not Perth, the Perth supercharger, which is not the one that's now called Perth North. So the great thing now is Tesla, they're swimming in cash. I mean,
just get it done.
Their free cash flow last quarter was $1.1 billion, which sounds a little bit low, but that's after them spending a ton of money on Texas and Brandenburg.
Berlin.
But they're sitting on 22 billion in cash and cash equivalents, and they've just signed a $5 billion line of credit as well.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think Elon's just preparing for the recession that he sees coming up this year. But yeah, they've never been in a better cash position.
And superchargers, it's a revenue neutral thing, but a really important thing that Elon Musk did say, and I forget which earnings call it was a number of years ago, but he basically said that you've got to have superchargers on all the possible routes that a Tesla owner might want to take. Because if you don't, if you only have it on 90% of the routes, then it impinges on the value of the car because that owner can't use that car in all the trips they want to do. So I think Tesla's acutely aware of it. Of course, in WA, we still only have 4 locations. Is that right? Yeah, I think it's 4.
Eaton, Williams, Karrinyup, and Margaret River.
Margaret River.
Yeah.
So we are still in the wilderness. I mean, Chuck in Tasmania is in a Tesla wilderness, but of course, Tassie's very well catered for with alternative CCS chargers. And the Eastern Seaboard is quite well catered. I mean, now they're actually doing backfilling. So some of the new sites that are funded by the New South Wales government, I forget which one it is. I don't know if it's Heather Bray or one of them in the central coast of New South Wales. They're actually just doing another site in the same town, and I think that's going to have 15 stalls.
Yeah, they've got a 15 stall at Coffs Harbour where they currently have a 6 stall.
That's
and a 15 stall at Albury where they currently have a 6 stall at Wodonga. So they're on that Albury Sydney Tweed Heads route. I think they're going to have 3 times as many stalls as what they have now, and many of those are in the same town.
Yeah, and that's awesome, and that's the population of Teslas on the Eastern Seaboard is higher. Obviously, it should be roughly 10 times higher than Perth. Obviously, in fact, we must be close to approaching 50,000 cars in Australia. I think we're about 40,000 something by the end of last year. So it won't be long before we'll get 50,000 cars, and obviously 90% of those will be on the Eastern Seaboard. So it makes sense that there are more superchargers there, but yeah, in WA we're just not accustomed to seeing superchargers everywhere yet, but they're coming. They are
out of those 40 odd or 50 almost thousand EVs in Australia, we added 25,000 roughly of those just last year.
Yeah, yep, and this year is going to be even bigger than that. The Model 3 has beaten Corolla in numbers. Sorry, the Camry. The next thing will be the Corolla, and the Model Y is eventually, if it's not by the end of this year, by the end of next year, it's going to beat every car of any type.
I can tell you of those VFAX sales data from last year. I can tell you that WA had almost exactly 10% of the entire country's sales.
Yeah, just 9
Tesla sales.
just under 10%.
Yeah. And that's good because we've actually returned to the national average, whereas a couple of years ago we were well behind, because there was no showroom. And in fact, I've got an image, and in fact, Pete, you'll get a bit of a little tear in your eye because you'll see your old car. Well, you've still got the car. It's not like it's gone yet.
Just been ignored for the new one.
It's just, that's right. It's just unloved. It's just not the new toy anymore. And I'm just going to struggle to find it, but I will. I might have to do that a little bit later on. But we had our service centre was an old tilt slab building next to the cemetery.
Oh yeah, that's where I picked my car up.
Karrakatta. And I am going to find this car.
In Claremont.
Sorry, this photo. Yeah, well, yeah, in Claremont, next to the cemetery, next to the dead centre of town. And yeah, I'm not going to find it. I'll find it a little bit later on. But basically, that's what we had to contend with. And now we've gone to what is now already an overutilized, or it's at full capacity service centre in Osborne Park. Which Tesla will hopefully rent another one bigger. to meet the demand.
Oh, one of the ones down the road will go out of business. I'll have a spot.
Yes, well, ironically, and this might be a good thing to introduce Sarah with the Atto. BYD actually has moved into the part of the City Motors site in. It's not Newcastle Street. It's right on the where the freeway near Charles Street and the freeway entry.
Yep.
And at BYD have actually gotten part of that site, which we had thought would be a prime Tesla site, although it did seem a bit big. I dare say now with Tesla the way it's going, that site would have been perfect. But anyway, so Sarah, please tell us about your little trip in your non-Tesla EV.
In my non-Tesla, the interloper. I've got a bit of supercharger jealousy after that last discussion, I have to say.
Well, ironically, you possibly could have used a couple of those superchargers if they were available a couple of weeks ago.
I could have done. But really, the one I would have wanted the most of all was the one in Clare, in the Clare Valley wine region, because it was a real low blow having to drive past 6 beautifully positioned superchargers and go and sit on a DC boot charger for the better part of 4 hours because they had a 3-phase plug, but they only had 20 amp circuit breakers. So I had to dial it right down to 14 kilowatt or something. I was like, ah.
Yeah.
So that one was probably the one that I would have wanted the most.
And I bet you all 4 of those superchargers were empty as well. When you
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would doubt, well, possibly public holidays, long weekends, they'd get pretty busy, but yes, lamenting, never mind. Thank goodness for the boot DC is all I can say.
I've got a burning question to ask you, which is what's going on here?
What's going on where? Oh, my flat tire. Can you believe the whole way back and 11 kilometers out of Southern Cross, my last charging station for the whole trip, up pops my tire indicator, tire warning, and said over the two-way to Shane in his Tesla in front of me. Think we have a problem, Houston. Pulled over, had a look, and a whopping great big metal object was in my tire, and we think it's probably the top of an old sardine can. You can see the central part there is quite thin, and then it's sort of spiraled around, the metal spiraled around. So possibly a tin, some sort of, we were at some of the old mine sites through Kalgoorlie the day before. So possibly something from there made its way across to Southern Cross with me. But yeah, it was interesting because I'd done the whole debate with myself about whether or not to take a spare wheel, and I'd got a quote, and I think it was $770 or something. And in the end, given Harold and Pete's experiences going all the way around both directions and not having a blowout type puncture at any point, I went with the compressor and puncture repair kit, which, as it happens, did the job and it was fine. But it was certainly a sinking feeling, that whole not knowing what it was going to turn out like and thinking, have I been, a bit silly, overestimating the fact that I didn't need a tyre, but it was okay in the end. We were lucky to be at 11 Ks out of Southern Cross because I used the compressor to blow it up, easily, ease my way into Southern Cross. And of course, we had a 2.5-hour charge there anyway because we had the 2 cars to do. So that was plenty of time. And in fact, once the tyre was done, we went and had a swim. So that was really nice. They've got a leisure centre, community pool just 200 metres from where you charge. So
yes, they do.
Yeah, that
in
was
fact,
really...
I can see you actually. It's always ABC, and I can see.
You can see the charging happening.
I can see the charging cord just there.
It was charging.
So there it is. Always
definitely
be charging.
went in before the wheel came off for sure.
Very good. So how was the trip? You had a bit of a deadline. I think you left on a Sunday, and you had to be
Sunday, and I needed to be in Sydney by Friday night at 7. My son's actually sitting next to me because my son was singing in a concert at University of Sydney, 7 o'clock Sunday night.
No pressure.
Friday night. Yeah, no pressure or anything. And actually pulled into Sydney, University of Sydney sort of quadrant, if you like, at 6:45. Couldn't find parking. Rang the security just going, I have just driven from Perth. I really need you to tell me where to park to get to this hall. They, talked to me like I was mad, came out, gave me a map, showed me where to go. And I literally walked into the hall as they started the first bar of their first piece. So winning.
Wow.
I don't think I could have timed it like that. It was just, a good bit of luck and a lot of planning, but a whole lot of luck as well to get there with that much time spare.
Well, that little time. So you should have said to the guard, I've driven all the way from Perth and I'm rather tired.
No, they were really kind. They showed me the closest place I could park. But the ironic thing was the last charger on my planner prior to getting to Sydney was one of those, I think it's one of the BP Pulse ones. And so I pulled in, did the usuals, and for whatever reason, my car wouldn't read it. And this was sort of tick, tick, tick on my timing, knowing that, 7 o'clock was looming. And I tried and I rang them and they didn't answer, and I tried. And in the end, I just called it and went to the next one. But what a luxury, you guys saying about going up the East Coast and going to supercharger by supercharger, not having to plan. It was such a luxury to be able to just quickly whop on charge, plug share and go, okay, well, I'm heading in this direction. Where's the next one? And be able to get there and charge and still get there on time. Way of the future for over here. We've got a long way to go.
We do. And obviously, one good bit of news is that, the Synergy EV, what's called the WA EV network, it's being built now, literally now.
Yeah, it was great to see the Geraldton one going in earlier in the week. Or over the weekend.
Yes. And I'm just trying to get my filter happening. Okay. And here we go. So we've actually got a couple of extra photos. This is the one in Northampton, and you can actually see the setup there. So this is a Kempower dual outlet 150 kilowatt charger. The thing behind is what's called the PayMate. So that's where you actually pay with a credit card if you want to.
Oh, fantastic.
And then just to the right is the 7.6 kilowatt AC charger.
Okay.
So that photo was taken on the 27th of July.
So they're all going to, they'll all be ACs, will they?
These are DC. The big box here is a DC charger. So that's a 150 kilowatt. They've got the spare AC as a backup.
Right.
So we don't know how much they're going to charge for charging, but in a sense, that's kind of irrelevant.
If you want it, you need it. It's right there. Yeah.
Well, look, I'd be prepared to pay, $1 plus on the Nullarbor, no problems, because it's better than the alternative, which is sitting by the side of your car for 3 or 4 hours.
You do pay $1 an hour in Caledonia.
Yes. Yeah, sorry, go, Sarah.
Wholeheartedly agree with you.
Cool. I think we haven't got photo. Oh yeah, we have got photos on PlugShare for, this is the Geraldton site. They're just doing some works there, but I don't think I can make, oh yes, I can make this a bit bigger. But you can basically see, this one's actually slightly different. This has got 2 lots of 150 kilowatt dual outlets. So basically 4 EVs can charge simultaneously.
I don't reckon it would be too much. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually put it at 30 cents a kilowatt hour, because it is our state utility. I wouldn't, that's what you pay on the A1 tariff at home if you have it. Maybe they might put an overhead on it, but yeah, I don't think it'd be too expensive.
Richard, if they do, I think that would be a mistake, because that would mean that it would cost you the same as charging at home. And because it's a lot faster, many locals may use it just as their way of charging rather than charging at home. And, then it would just mean that, they're being used for locals rather than for road trippers. Now that said, they may actually open it up at 30 cents just to, get locals charged there, get it used so that everyone knows where it is. And, it would then make sense to, after 3 to 6 months when they start getting a bit busier, then to increase the rates from there on.
Well, they're a public utility.
That would be
a branch of government. They should be charging the right fee. Now, they shouldn't be ripping us off because that's what it is. But a duty and a mandate really to charge the going rate.
You mate, well, actually, it's funny you say that, Pete. So what that then might imply is they might sort of match what's basically in the market. So I think Tesla is now at 66 cents a kilowatt hour. I'm not sure what the RAC stuff is.
Well,
What
surely
their
they'd be able
costs.
to utilise their infrastructure, particularly given the whinging they're carrying on at the moment about the solar and how it's destroying the network. Surely they would encourage people to use it. And I don't think we should be advocating surcharges.
Oh no, but what I mean is, they'd probably not want to distort the market by being vastly cheaper than everyone else, because then that would be a disincentive for further
Because
DC charges.
there'd be no point in putting them in if you get to Northampton or somewhere and there's 4 cars there already charging. So
So I just had a look. The RAC one in at the RAC headquarters, they're charging 60 cents per kilowatt hour. Oh, this is interesting. 60 cents per kilowatt hour for DC and 45 cents per kilowatt hour AC. So what makes that interesting, I think, Pete, is that you're sort of paying for the level of service. So for the fast charging, it's appropriate to pay more because it's the convenience of having it occur quite quickly. And then perhaps a split price, which is obviously what the RAC have decided to do, at least
Harold, they're charging 60 cents per kilowatt hour for the 350s, and I think 45 cents.
Yes, exactly.
For the 150s or the 50s. Yeah, less 20% for RAC members, because I've only been paying the 45 cents down to 36 cents with the RAC discount, but I haven't been to a 350 kilowatt charger because my car won't take it.
Yes,
I only take half.
Still charged there though.
Yeah. But that's interesting. So you can see there that there is a split cost between AC and DC. So
It's a bit like carrying up in effect, Harold, where you can have the 6 superchargers at 66 odd cents, or you can have the 2 AC ones for free. So what happens with the AC ones? You can never get in them because they're always full.
Yeah,
It's always Teslas.
So
and you don't want to distort. So go, Pete.
Yeah, that's why you want to charge a rate that's higher than what you pay at home, and that's why you want to have idle fees so that people don't turn them into EV parking spots.
The idle fees, excellent.
Absolutely, you got to keep them as EV charging spots, not EV parking spots.
I saw an article, I think it was in The Driven, that described a Kona owner on the Eastern Seaboard that was at a NRMA fast DC charger and had left their car fully charged and connected for several hours. And upon returning, the person, because there was someone waiting to charge there because there's only one charger in that location, upon returning, the Kona owner said, "Oh, really sorry, but my balloon trip took a bit longer than I expected."
Yeah, you went hot air ballooning.
They went for
Yes.
a hot air balloon ride.
Yep.
Yeah, which takes 4 hours.
Yes, it does. And everyone knows
Been there,
that
done
because
that.
when you book a balloon thing, it'll tell you get here at this time and it'll run for 3 or 4 hours. So because it was a free at the moment, the NRMA are offering those charges for free. So there's no cost, and unfortunately, some EV owners, in this rare case, it's a Kona owner, not a Tesla owner, has just taken the wee and just said, "Well, I'm more important than everyone else, and I'll just go on my balloon trip."
I think there was a Tesla owner that did a similar thing. I can't remember what was happening. It was parked there and fully charged and no one attending.
Well, actually, in the interest of being fair and balanced, something that's a really awful practice that's starting to rear its head in Karrinyup is quite a few Tesla owners are parking their car in the supercharger bay because it's obviously available as opposed to a lot of the other bays, and not plugging in. And we've had reports that it's happened not just on multiple occasions, but there have been multiple cars simultaneously doing the same thing, which is really not on. It's just not on, and it's not good. And anyone that is doing it, just stop it. Don't do it.
It's an easy fix to that. Just plug them in.
Yep.
Well,
They get idle fees.
oh, what is?
So this is a photo. So whatever you have, I'll
It's an
raise you.
X.
Wow.
Yeah. So whatever stories you have, I'll raise you with this one. So this is at the prime time. So this is at just a day after Christmas or 2 days after Christmas in Dunsborough. So this is in Dunsborough. So yeah, he obviously. So now I don't want to criticise this guy because we all know that the charger in Dunsborough, maybe he was trying to make a point in that you have to basically reverse against the flow of traffic to be able to plug that cable in. And so if you don't break the law, you basically can't charge. So maybe he's trying to show that, you know, he can't charge his car. Maybe he's just trying to, you know, pretend that he's charging so that he can park in a convenient spot. I don't know what he's doing there, but yeah.
Wow.
It's just not on. So please don't do it. And Pete, just just to back that story up, this is the Dunsborough charger, and you can see they're actually angled bays. I mean, you
There's not a
can't
lot of
really.
room.
Actually, that's changed now. That one you can actually do it, although.
They've re-added the second EV spot.
Oh, gotcha. That wasn't an EV spot before. It was just this one here. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes. And to use this one here, the only way you can do that is to reverse. But you've got to reverse. It's actually quite hard to do because you've got to drive your car forwards here and then try and reverse back in, and then you end up, as you come out, you go against the flow of traffic, which is just really difficult if it's busy.
Yeah.
Why don't they move the bloody charger?
Oh, it's just because that's where the conduits came out. It's just moving a charge is not that simple.
No.
But it's,
I mean,
you know, you plan twice, you cut once. That's got to take the cake for the most underplanned or the worst planned charger in WA.
Yes.
It was one of the things I noticed on my trip was that a lot of the fast chargers have got quite large bollards in front of them, which for the positioning of the Atos charge port, which is sort of on the front driver's side panel, unless you're going to significantly stretch that cable, you've got to get super, super close to some of those bollards. And I found myself, luckily it was quiet, so I could come in and then, you know, park horizontally so that I was right-hand side to the charger. But if there were two there are times that I don't think would actually work at all because you just can't get close enough without risking bumping the front of your car.
Good point.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so, I mean,
absolutely.
some people are advocating at the superchargers where cars are just parked to plug them in and walk away and go, they'll get stung for fees. And I've got a feeling that you might be in trouble if you're caught doing that. I don't know about the legality of doing that.
You don't touch their car. You haven't done anything to that.
I would approach it as being a good Samaritan because if you give people the benefit of the doubt, and you know, you could mount an argument that, well, perhaps they just forgot to plug in, which wouldn't it be an awful feeling if you came back to your car at a supercharger having forgotten to plug in and go, oh bugger, I thought I was going to get a fully charged car and now I don't. So it's actually a good deed to
community service.
To help people who may have forgotten to plug their cars in, and that's the argument I'd mount. One thing, if anyone does see a car that does do this at any of the superchargers, please don't post it on Facebook and name and shame, because it becomes a slanging match and people sometimes pile in. But please do send it to us. So send a photo of the car to secretary@tokwa.org.au, and get a photo of the number plate, obviously, and to show that it's not plugged in to the supercharger. And then maybe if it's not too difficult and you can do it sort of fairly quickly, just get a photo of the VIN, which is just in the
On the driver's side.
the driver's side windscreen at the bottom. You know, and forward it to us, and then we will forward it to Tesla, and perhaps Tesla might be interested in just following up with a polite email reminding all Tesla owners that the superchargers are there to charge cars, and they're not there to as free parking bays. And you know, it's something that all Tesla owners should be aware of. It's not cool to say, I'm just going to pick up a bottle of milk for 5 minutes, and you know the shopping centre's packed, and this is a Tesla bay. It's only a Tesla bay if you're plugged in and charging.
It really
and
needs a sort of law here to get parking fines for people parking in bays with a charger and not charging.
It's not only just that; it's just good etiquette. It's like today I went to Joondalup Shopping Centre. There was a spare bay. I went in it. I was reasonably full, but I just wanted to top up. So I topped up, came back about 15 minutes later, just came up with me. Well, I knew it was full, and then moved it just so someone else could get in. But the amount of times you see cars just sat there for hours, they're obviously full. And they're just taking up a bay for the sake of it. If you know your car's full, move it, let somebody else in. It's just good etiquette.
Mark, there used to be a guy in a Leaf that used to come in, charge in the morning, and then he'd walk off to the train station, and then he'd come back after work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and get back in his car and drive home. And he used to do that a couple of times a week. So yeah, it's ridiculous.
Why?
You just got
people are selfish. They're just selfish. I mean, I did a video about it this morning.
Oh, I like that video.
Big
It was
whinge.
good. No, it was good.
Particularly
There wasn't
these
enough
days,
swear
a few
words.
charges.
My wife told me not to.
Al, just to correct what I said before, it's actually on the passenger side. As soon as I said it, I doubted myself, so I went into the garage and checked. Yeah, it's actually on the VIN's on the passenger side, not the driver's side. Sorry about that.
Agreed,
cool.
Pete, but I'll never argue with you.
Just one other thing. Has anyone else had any problems with that charger at Dunsborough? A couple of times. I've been to it about 5 or 6 times. A couple of times. It's taken me ages to get the thing to connect.
I've had problems a couple of times as well on that one.
Yeah, it's just, I said, don't know who writes the software for them, but they want shooting.
And yeah,
Well,
it
it's
was,
ChargeBox manages them now.
Yeah.
So just if you're feeling in a grumpy mood, there is a grumpy
that's
old
it.
man and his EV,
oh god, I loved it.
and
This is looking good there, old Nigel.
Yeah. That's a bit of airbrushing touch up by the look of that.
I was going to say he's been
there's
photoshopped.
there's an Instagram filter happening there, I think.
Yeah. No, Photoshop works wonders.
I need it for me.
So yeah, so that's a shameless plug for the grumpy old man. Do have a look and
With an
do
EV.
subscribe. He's got 844 subscribers. As soon as he gets another 156, he will be rolling.
He'll be in the money.
He'll be in the money.
The cents are going to come flowing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, absolutely.
Could I just ask a quick question? Has anyone been to the UK recently? I did watch your Grumpy Old Man one, review of the Model Y in the UK. Just looking for tips on how to hire a Tesla in the UK. I came across Turo, is it? And also saw Hertz and Avis hire them as well. But is there any other things anyone recommends?
Turo's all right. Look at the prices. I've found Hertz to be expensive because I've been looking around. I was looking at Norway actually in August, and Hertz is just hellishly expensive.
I found actually was even more expensive was Avis.
Yeah. Give Chiro.
I think it was
so
about
Chiro is
1,900
just
quid for what I wanted for Model 3. No, Model
For how-
Y from
for how long?
Avis Harris. It was about just over 2 weeks, about 2 weeks, 3 days.
Yeah, that's not cheap. I hired a Model Y for 20 days for €2,000, which is not too bad.
No.
But yeah, Chiro is good. Well, Chiro is just ordinary owners,
Yeah.
residential owners.
What's
that
the
put their-
insurance situation with that? Are they normally fully insured?
Yes,
For that
Turo.
price?
I just had my Model 3 before it sold out on Turo, and they cover 100% insurance and everything. So that's
It's not insurance, Nigel. So because they don't have a insurance license, it's a protection plan. Protection plan.
Yeah. That they protect it. There's Sixt in the UK, SIXT 60, or however you want to pronounce it.
They're here as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. There's also another couple, Green Drive or Drive Green or something like that. There's a few places around, but and in the UK, there's quite a few, as I believe. Yeah, I looked.
Anyone would recommend?
Well, I
From
think
experience?
60 are quite okay. Turo, I had my car out on, and they're very good.
Yeah.
I've got my cars on Turo and EV as well.
Right. Right. I'll have a think of that one. I saw one that I liked, so maybe go for that. It was a lot cheaper. That was only about 1,200 quid for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, thanks, guys.
It's going to be awesome to drive a Tesla while on holidays because it just makes it so much more pleasant.
Oh, well, last time I've got Mercedes A-Class, and they are horrible. Absolutely, very economical in the diesel. I was surprised how economical it was. But I had a Volkswagen Golf, and I thought, oh, I've got a Mercedes A-Class. That'll be nice. It was horrible. It made my Golf seem like a Mercedes, a good one.
Dearie me.
Don't believe it. They actually sold that as a Mercedes. Really don't. I know it's only a Renault Laguna, really, but bloody hell.
Well, yeah, and you've got a few superchargers in the UK too, so
yeah,
you might just be able to get by.
And that's what I'm looking for. So I'll be going up to Scotland as well.
Oh, excellent.
Last time I went, I did 60.
Are you going to go right to the very top? Is it not the
No,
Orkneys?
not the very top. No, I'm only going up to Edinburgh way.
Where are you going?
I'm going up
Where
to
are you going
Perth
in
and
Scotland?
Kinross.
Oh, cool.
I'll be going in
I've been to
May.
Perth, Nigel.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
Last time we went to both Perth and Kinross, which is where I live in Kinross here.
I went up. I actually went up to the Orkneys, so in 2019.
That is a good way.
So
yeah.
I went
it's
south
brilliant
coast
in Scotland.
to the Orkneys, to Hamburg, to back to the UK again. So easy as.
Yeah.
What's that?
But was that an
plane
electric
flight?
though?
Yeah, you'll love it up in Scotland. What's the question? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, what's that plane ride? That's the shortest. It's the shortest commercial plane ride on Earth. It goes. You fly for 30 seconds from one island to the next. That's somewhere up in Scotland. It's in a very small airplane too.
I think it's in that
Oh,
island
you know it's a
that has
sky
all
or
the.
something.
Sorry, there's an island around there that has all the wind and wave power or something like that. Wind and tidal power.
I'm
Or
just
the
going to
Orkneys.
go shortest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of them. A lot of islands up there.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
It's
there were.
Papa Westray
Yeah,
to
you-
Westray. So, this is Tom Scott, and I'm gonna go to where he actually takes off, and this is the entire flight, and it goes like this.
These outer islanders need ways of getting to the mainland, of course, but bridges are expensive, especially over some of the longer inter-island spans in the Orkneys, and while ferries do operate throughout the archipelago, they're slow and lack a direct connection to onward travel. Therefore, the answer is airplanes. Of course, flying is expensive, and in the world of commercial aviation, it's typically the case that the lower the demand, the more expensive it is for an airline to operate a route on a per-passenger basis. That's because smaller destinations lack the economies of scale afforded by operating larger airplanes more frequently at larger airports, so air service to places with 600 or 90 residents, like Westray and Papa Westray, is essentially impossible on a free market basis. The fares would be enormous per passenger, meaning people wouldn't choose to fly, meaning there wouldn't be enough passengers to fill a plane. Therefore, flights to Westray and Papa Westray are subsidised through the UK's Public Service Obligation Scheme, meaning only a small portion of Loganair's revenue is earned through selling the flight's £17 or £18 tickets. Still, filling a 9-passenger plane to Papa Westray in particular, with its 90-person population, would be difficult. Even at rock-bottom prices, price elasticity only goes so far. Therefore, Loganair uses a network design referred to as a milk run. Essentially, it means operating a plane like a bus or train. In this case, the BN2 Islander aircraft leaves Kirkwall, the largest town in the Orkneys, with passengers destined for Papa Westray and Westray. Then it lands in Papa Westray, drops off any passengers destined for that island, and picks up any passengers traveling to Westray and Kirkwall. Next, it flies those 80 or so seconds to Westray, drops off its passengers, and picks up any final travelers headed for Kirkwall. This way.
Apologies, it wasn't 30 seconds. I was lying. It's a minute and 30 seconds.
That needs to be electric, if anything.
And notice how there's only one pilot, because what's the chances of having a heart attack? You know, like you could probably fly the plane for 90 seconds and just land and then have finish your heart attack.
Mind you, some of the winds up there, you might get some heart attack moments.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, Mark, hope you have. When are you going? Anytime soon or
in May
later on?
In May.
Very good. Just when the weather's warming up a little bit.
It's what we've been waiting for. Yeah, precisely.
Fantastic. Alrighty. Now, has anyone got
advice?
Yeah, no worries. Has anyone got any questions or comments? Especially anyone with who's newly gotten a car, and if you've got any questions, maybe David or anyone else that might have a question.
Well, I do have one comment, and that is,
yes, Charles.
It's midnight here, so I'm going to turn into a pumpkin now. So
very good.
I'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for joining us. Really
Sure.
appreciate it, and yeah, thanks for the information on that meetup. That was awesome.
No,
And yeah,
good bit of fun.
welcome back anytime.
No worries then.
That was
Thanks.
brilliant.
Take care. Cheers.
And that solar system's amazing.
Thanks, Charles. Really appreciate it. Alrighty. Anyone else got any questions or comments?
Hi, it's David here. We had a flat tire yesterday. Well, not flat. It got down to 23 pounds, and the machine told me it's dangerous to drive this car. It's almost got no pressure in one tire. So we managed to fill it up, and this morning filled it up again and took it down to the guy who fixes up punctures. If it had been a flat tire, what do we do then?
What do you mean? As in, what you mean catastrophically flat, so you couldn't pump it up, or?
So we couldn't drive it at all. What will Tesla rescue us? What happens?
If the car is go Nigel.
I was going to say, if you're within about, is it 80 or 100 Ks of Perth city centre, they'll come out and rescue you.
Yeah. Tesla will, or who will?
Yeah, because you get roadside assistance. So you get, I think Tesla pays basically for the RAC or equivalent road service. And they would they bring a tyre with them, Nigel?
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Paul always knows the distance from Perth. PV.
Yeah, well, it is 80, but then someone
80,
was
okay.
saying the central parts and that sort of stuff. So, someone was saying, oh, Bunbury or something like that, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, if you're going to go on a road trip anyway, borrow a spare from us, from the club anyway. You pay your $20, you might, if you're that worried about it. But yeah, in the city, it's a company in God, I can't remember now. But yeah, they send a guy out with the tire. He'll swap it out, and you take the tire to Tesla or something like that. Once you've got yours repaired, and then they'll drop it off. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
But yeah, thankfully, most of the time when you get a flat, it's only a slow leak because it's a tech screw or something like that. I mean, I've got a rather large. It's like a roofing screw, a big one that my car got in at the end of December. Early December, and it's still going. It's still going strong. I haven't fixed it yet. I haven't got round to it, and it hasn't lost 1 psi. And that's since early December, and now we're early February, so it's been a while. So you can be
still
lucky.
Going strong.
Oh, your repair. Oh, yes, very good.
Yeah, we ended up having to put 2 of the strips in. It was such a large hole.
Ooh, and that's worked. It hasn't leaked or anything. It's still going strong.
Still holding strong. Touch wood.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, mine I didn't repair, so it's still got the tech screw. The head now has been worn off, so the tech screw is its own plug. It's just a metal plug. Yeah.
Oh well. That's funny.
For the time being, I'm sure I'll wake up tomorrow morning and have a flat tire. But anyway, never mind. So yeah, so David, yeah, it's just a matter of luck. The chances are you should just get a mild leak and you can always limp home somewhere. Oh yes,
that was the same thing. It was flat.
Yep.
Like the tech screw was flat.
Yep, it'd been flattened off.
Yeah, I don't know how long it was there for because I only saw that with the full self-driving update that we got over Christmas. So I was mucking around with it in the driveway, and Leonie's like, "Well, what's that shiny thing in your tire?" And I'm like, "Oh crap!"
Lucky that shiny thing wasn't radioactive.
Yes. Oh yeah.
They found it apparently.
They did too. Yes, they did. Yep.
Or did they find it?
No. They found it.
I think it's not far from the mine site.
They didn't. It was 2 meters from the road, not far from Newman.
Yeah.
And look, they were always going to find it. The only risk was if someone had picked it up in their tire tread and then driven it away, like into a suburb of Perth or something, then that would have been pretty bad. But with radiation detectors, that thing's blaring out a lot of radiation, and the detectors are pretty sensitive, so they were always going to find it. But yeah, they did today, which is pretty cool.
Cool. Where did they find it, Harold?
Close to Newman. It wasn't very far from where it actually started its journey. So it had done the right thing and fallen out sort of not too far from where it was. And it was apparently 2 meters from the road. So it was on the verge, on the shoulder of the road, I guess. But yeah, it was only 5 millimeters in diameter and 8 millimeters tall. So not much bigger than a Smartie, but a rather radioactive Smartie. Anyway, moving right along. Yeah, anyone else got any other questions or comments?
One thing, Cybertrucks, there's a beta Cybertruck out there now that Elon's apparently inspected and is happy with. So, for those that don't know, Alpha is, just designed to basically prove the concept of the car, that the fundamental technology works, whereas beta is supposed to be, almost identical to the production version. So
that's right. And then you have the release candidates, which effectively are cars that have been sort of mostly built on the line and sort of with all the parts that would be used in the final production run. So yeah, we're definitely looking for we're kind of just looking forward to it. Frustratingly, I mean, at the earnings call, Elon Musk did say, you know, because initially, I think in the Q3 earnings call, it was stated that the Cybertruck would start production in the middle of the year, in summer, which is in the middle of this year. And then I think Tesla sort of walked it back a little bit, saying, well, it might be towards the latter part of the year. But then Elon Musk kind of rightly said, there's no point focusing in on when production starts because it's glacially slow. And it's only once you've ramped up that things get interesting. And, you know, that will clearly be in 2024, next year.
Sorry, 24, correct.
Yeah.
Drew Baglino piped in though and just confirmed, you know, that they've got the GigaPress there, you know, and all the equipment's going in. So looks like they're on track to start the first few in maybe June. So
yes.
When will we get out?
Yeah, 2026. I don't
Really?
know. Look, I think the Model Y. I think the Model Y we got 2 years after the States. A good 2 years, or was it 3 years? 2, 3.
3. We keep getting it 3, unfortunately.
Yeah, Model 3 was a bit like that too. But the wild card with the Cybertruck is that 2-ton GigaPress, that the red and white one, that went to China.
Asia.
Yeah, Asia. Yeah.
Do we know if it went to China, Pete? Or I guess you could presume it did, probably.
It was based on a LinkedIn post that
was it IDRA?
IDRA, yeah, that IDRA put up, and they basically just said, going to a customer in Asia.
Yeah.
So
in the red and
if
white.
it's not China, it's
colours.
North Korea. Oh, sorry, North Korea,
North
South
Korea.
Korea.
Wow, they've gone from nothing to everything.
No, sorry, South Korea.
Gonna cause the World War III here.
Oops. Yeah, sorry, Elon, ring up the president and get off DEFCON 5. Or no, DEFCON 1, whichever, I forget which way it goes, one or the other. But yeah, either Korea or, you know, China, possibly
They
Japan.
reckon they're saying 1.5 million pre-orders. I'm just thinking, just the manufacturing runs on that, let alone left-hand drive versus right-hand drive vehicle. That's going to take some time to get to us. You know.
But
Yeah,
there's more. There's actually more than 1.5, and there'd be a lot more had they not stopped taking pre-orders. So you can't take, you know, you can't order a Cybertruck in Australia anymore.
That's right, because it was kind of pointless. Because for those of us that have orders, the price isn't fixed, but it's a legitimate order. But the price for FSD is fixed; it's capped
at 10,100, I think.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, I think it's something like that. But we have legitimate, proper orders. Although we just don't know we don't know the final price, and nor do we know the final configuration, because if you ordered, for example, what I ordered, which was the tri-motor, it might become a quad motor, or probably will become a quad motor. You probably only get a quad or a dual motor variant, probably. But the good thing with Tesla is, even though they've got a lot of order backlog, it's not like they're going to only produce left-hand drive version cars until their backlog's zero, and then start on the rest on the right-hand drive ones. There'll be a crossover time where, you know, they've still got 500,000 Cybertrucks to make for the States, but then they'll probably, you know, start making Australian ones, or, you know, right-hand drive ones, hopefully.
Yeah, I want my Ute, man. A Ute from the future. I want it now.
Yes.
I could pull up next to I had a Ford, you know, like a Raptor next to us today, and I was like, yeah, no way, buddy, you're not going to beat a performance. But I would just love it with my Cybertruck all souped up. They'll definitely just not even bother.
Cybertruck's going to do 0 to 100 in under 3 seconds, according to
know.
the tri-motor specs. But who knows what the quad motor specs will be?
No,
I dare say it'll be adequate.
I was thinking my car's adequate, but God, that's going to be a beast.
Yeah, just imagine it. Just
I reckon there'll be. Sorry, I was just going to say, I reckon there'll be videos, YouTube videos, of some idiot with a Cybertruck and a caravan at well, if they won't let him on a drag strip, he'll be dragging a Mustang or something off the lights and pinning him with it while towing a 2-ton caravan.
Yeah. Chuck a Raptor on a trailer.
That's
that's
actually. Go on.
Sorry.
They did that with a was it a Spider? An Alpha? No, it was with the Alfa
Alfa
Romeo.
Romeo with an Alfa
Yeah.
Romeo. Yeah.
Yeah, that they had on a trailer behind a Model
Yep.
X, and they were dragging an Alfa Romeo, and they beat it.
The Alfa Romeo on the trailer beat the Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
In
Oh, you're
fact,
showing something.
it goes something like.
Oh, there you go. That's it.
That's
The
amazing.
spider beat it. Oh, sorry, you didn't see that, did you?
That's right.
No, we did.
We saw the end of it.
Yeah.
Saw the video.
Oh,
Yeah.
you saw it. Oh, sorry. I thought for a moment I panicked and didn't think
No.
it was on. So you saw it, yeah. So the actual yellow spider beat the red one while being towed by the Model X. It's just a bit ridiculous. But yeah, the Cybertruck. I mean, could it beat an F-150 Lightning while towing an F-150 Lightning?
Oh,
That just gets you all hot and sweaty, doesn't it? That's just like I want to see that video.
yeah.
Ooh. Anyway,
I don't know. I think you
Yes.
need an adult rating for that one.
we'll just be sitting on high road. We'll just put that on loop and just watch it for a whole episode of Ask Us Anything.
Done.
I don't know. It's interesting. The F-150 Lightning, 0 to 60 miles per hour, so same as 0 to 100 basically, sub 4 seconds. So
Oh, yeah.
it's no slouch. No slouch.
Yeah. So it would be hard for a Cybertruck to be able to tow an F-150.
Because it probably weighs 3 ton, 2.5 ton or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be hard. That would be hard. But hey, it'd be, it'd still be good to see in any case. Especially with a quad motor, we never know. The quad Tesla could pull a rabbit out of the hat and get low 2 seconds for the Cybertruck, perhaps. Which anyway, I'm going to start giggling like a little girl if I keep this up.
2,950 kilograms for the F-150 Lightning. So yeah, 3 ton.
Even with 4 motors, that'd be a big ask, I reckon.
Yeah.
But you just never know your luck. You never know.
Well, the torque it would have would be incredible. But 3 ton disadvantage, that's massive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but that would imply that if you're carrying that dead weight, it should double your time. So it would take the 2 point something seconds to it'll be 4 point something, wouldn't it? It just
Yeah.
depends how close the Cybertruck can get to 2 seconds. If you can
And
get
the
to the
weight of
low
the
side,
trailer.
and
But
you want a super
motors?
light
You've got to
trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. From everything that Elon's been saying recently, if anything, the Cybertruck is probably going to be around, more than 3 seconds. But then again, it's he's very much vested in that project. He loves that whole car and he wants it to be, just the best car of all time. So
Absolutely. Perhaps a Rivian, maybe a Rivian, 'cause I think they're slower.
Oh yeah, they're slow.
I just want to actually I don't care. I just want to see a Cybertruck tow anything really, and I want to see it do that in Perth. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, you'd have to do it with the Land Cruiser or something then.
Yeah.
Really piss some people off.
the R1S, Harold, 3.2 seconds.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
No.
We'll go the base model then. We'll go the base model.
All the electric cars are quick.
They are.
The expensive ones, anyway.
Don't forget the tri-motors weren't plaid motors.
Yeah.
Yes.
In those,
Yeah,
they were pre-plaids, so they could be a lot more powerful than we think as well. But even so, 2 seconds will be asking an awful lot.
Hey, Mark, were they Model 3 motors initially?
They were Model 3 motors in the original one, yeah. The same
Yeah,
as the, the first I remember, they were the same as in the Semi, yeah. Because they were all Model 3 motors originally, and then they changed into plaid motors.
Yeah.
So
that's
they would have some extra grunt than originally was spec'd.
It's just look, it's coming. We've got orders. Time does pass, and quite a few of us have got Model Ys, and we waited a long time and looked forward to them when the Model Y was first announced, and now they're here. Domo isn't on yet, but he's looking forward to his Model S plaid, and he's been waiting a while and still will wait a while, but it'll come, and so will the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
And the great thing too is, of course, we should all be looking forward to the 1st of March, which I presume will be basically the 2nd of March for us, which is Tesla's Investor Day, where obviously, and I mean, Elon Musk has all but said it, they will be announcing new products. And one thing that Elon Musk said, I'm sort of paraphrasing, but he said that, their runway of new products is the most exciting of any company on earth.
Can I try and make a prediction?
Oh, yes, go on, Richard.
That the IDRA press in Shanghai is actually for what I'm going to call the Model 2, and Musk is going to go, and here it is, and we're going to start making it, and that's it. And then we get a compact, cheap EV, like a Fiat 500 E size or a mini size.
Hey, Richard, that would make complete sense for one reason, and that's to avoid Osborning. So, with the 3 and the Y, they were such different cars from the S and the X. It was perfectly fine to announce those 3 years prior to production. But the Model 2 will be, who knows if it will have a collapsible steering wheel, or if it will double up as a robo-taxi, or if there'll be another, robo-taxi version, or what happens. But, that's a lot closer to, to the 3 and Y than the 3 and Y were to the S and X. So to prevent Osborning, it would make sense that here we go, and they're available to order now.
Well, because I was thinking, it's just like, there's no way they're going to be making the Cybertruck in Shanghai. Not yet. I mean, maybe they will, but I just thought maybe they've got the designs for what we'll call a Model 2 and just stamp the whole thing in one go.
Yeah. Well, they probably
don't
have to do
know if
that
that's
to get it.
possible.
They probably have to do that to get it to that 25 US price point. There's probably no other way to manufacture it.
Well, it's 50% of the cost of a Model 3. The cost is what they're aiming at, isn't it?
Wow.
So there's
Yeah,
got to be
right.
a
Oh,
big
yeah.
change to get to halve the cost.
Yep.
That's not certainly what it'll sell at, but that's what they want to build it at, half the cost.
Do you think it'll be just China only?
No,
for export.
it will be at
It'll-
first, though. I think it probably will be at first.
At first.
That's what it's
Yeah.
looking like.
And the demand for like a small EV in China would be huge.
Through
So
the
would India.
roof.
Well, I was listening to Talking Tesla, and Joel had a really good, I think it was Joel that said that, or maybe it was Robert. And he basically said that as you linearly reduce a car's price or any expensive consumer item, or well, any expensive item, as you linearly decrease its price, the demand increases exponentially. So, you know,
There's a very good chart on that on Twitter. Don't try and ask me to find it, but yes, you're absolutely right. The elasticity of demand for high dollar cost goods is, and Elon even mentioned it on the Q4 earnings call. He basically said price matters. There's a huge, you know, there's a huge demand for Teslas, and some people just can't afford them. They just, and you know, 2, 3, 5 grand makes a world of difference.
I forgot the exact figures, but it's something like when you get a car above something like about 50,000 American, maybe 60,000 American, it's 15% of the market. So the other 85% of the market is lower than that.
Yep.
So it's got to go up exponentially as soon as you get below that. And before you get to that, it starts dropping off once you get to about 20,000. But it goes up in a big lump round about that 20 to 30,000. That's where your big market is. That's American dollars, not ours.
Yeah, but why would they do that if they've only got a capacity of making 2 million cars a year at the moment anyway?
That is the whole point. That's the capacity, but that isn't the capacity they want. They want to increase that capacity. And what's the name of that latest Model 3? The one they're on about to improve the Model 3.
Highlander.
Have you seen the video about Highlander and what the name links to? Highlander or Highland was the original Ford Model T factory. And that's what everyone's linking it back to now, that if you look at the way he's building the factories, and if you look at the original Model T factory, it actually had a railways feeding into the factory, and all the stuff got loaded straight off the trains, straight into the factories, and straight into the bins that people put things on the cars. The next one after that original factory, I think it was the Highland factory, was then putting ships straight the way into it. And they unloaded the ships into the factories. And that all starts feeding round that Highlander is actually linking in that it's really Elon following Henry Ford's original idea. And if you remember, his original idea was to make the limited car all in black. Well, he isn't doing it black, but he only does 5 colours.
Yeah.
In this day and age, 5 colours is black.
Yes, that's right.
So it's
Yeah,
amazing
exactly.
that if that's true, I've got the video. If I remember it, I'll try and send it through to you.
And Mark, that wouldn't have been the first time there's been a reference to the Model T. Back in 2015, Elon said that by 2020, Tesla would produce 500,000 cars in that year.
Yeah.
And people were laughing at him, blah, blah. And I don't know if it was Elon or someone else who made the comparison to how long Tesla had been around for versus the Model T. And they showed that the Model T got to 500,000 cars within that period. And I think it was them speculating that that's where Elon was getting the number from. But Yeah.
There's a lot of coincidences, even down to the names. Model 3, and it was going to be the Model E. That's already a Ford name. All the models like Model T and original Fords were all those sort of names as well. On top of that, there was something I saw recently. It might have even been on the same video, actually. And it was the parade in 1900 for the Easter Parade in New York. And the whole street was full of horses and carriages. And there was one car in the whole street. In 1913, so it's 13 years later, the same picture was full of actual cars, and there was one horse.
Howard's going to put it up in a minute.
I am.
And if you think around that and think, oh, that wouldn't happen today, think about 2007 and 2020 when the iPhone came out, and how many phones you saw in people's hands on trains and stuff, and then what you saw of phones in 2020.
Yep.
Okay, so
that's it.
So this is a street full of horses, and the actual horseless carriage is right here.
Yeah.
And we can just zoom in on that. That's it there.
Yeah, that's
the 1913 photo. Yep.
And then
yeah.
Sorry, that's the 1900.
1900. Yeah, and that's the 1913.
That's 1900, and then this is 1913, and it's the same piece of road, Fifth Avenue.
Yeah.
And there's the one horseless carriage. Sorry.
Yeah.
Horse carriage.
Horse.
Amongst
carriage.
a sea of horseless carriages.
Yeah.
That's what threw me off, is when you said horseless carriages.
Yes.
I'm too blind to see the photo. That's why I said 1913.
So that's so we got 1900, one horseless carriage, and 1913, one horse carriage.
Yeah,
so, Pete, it's because our language just sometimes just doesn't catch up. Like the taxation class of a superbike I had in the UK was bicycle, because it would have been a bicycle that was a motorized bicycle, and now it's a 150 horsepower bicycle, but it still had the antique naming.
Yeah, that is trippy, but yeah, that's 13 years, and you went from all of one type to nothing. Basically,
it was only 13 years from the iPhone to everyone just has something that looks like an iPhone. Totally checked from what was a phone back in 2007 to it's not a phone anymore. Just one of its functions is a phone now.
Well, and that's a great analogy
today.
And that's a great analogy with basically electric cars or Teslas.
Yeah.
Is that everyone had a Nokia phone. The battery would last a week. You could if it was ringing in your pocket, you could reach in and you could feel where the answer button was, and you could basically answer it in your pocket, and everyone loved them, and Nokia was the king of the universe. Basically, they were one of the biggest companies on earth, and most successful, and BlackBerry, and this fruit company just brought out something with a flat screen that you had to slide. I mean, how stupid was it? You had to slide your finger across a screen at the right place, and a lot of people went, well, I don't want one of those. And now we've all got one. And we don't miss.
Pete. Can't remember which year it was, but one of my mates who just lived with his BlackBerry in his hand, and he absolutely loved his BlackBerry. And I said to him, I bet you $1,000 that within 5 years you'll have an iPhone. And he laughed at me and blah, blah. And he said, yeah, I'll take that bet any day. And we had witnesses. So we shook hands on it. And I went and saw him in Canada a few years ago. And he picked me up from the airport and pulled out a iPhone out of his pocket. And I went... And he remembered, and to his credit, went to the ATM and took out $1,000 in folding cash. So he was here last year, and I took him for a spin in the Tesla. And I said, remember that bed that we I said, I bet you that within 5 years you'll be driving a Tesla. And he goes, no way. And he was here again about 6 weeks ago, and he's thinking about possibly coming back to. And anyway, and yeah, he was eyeing off some Teslas already. So yeah.
So don't bet against.
Only a year.
So don't bet against Pete. That's a lesson to be learned.
Don't bet against Elon.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people had trouble with the transition from having a keyboard on a phone, and the BlackBerry particularly, to not having one. And I don't know if you remember, and the thumb wheel on the BlackBerry was an amazing thing for double clicking and scrolling in the early days. But then there was a transition product BlackBerry brought out that had a slider keyboard that the screen would slide up the top, and then it would reveal a keyboard. So if you wanted a tactile keyboard, you had it. And they were trying, It's always sad when you get a brilliant piece of tech, but you don't read the company doesn't read the tea leaves, right? And then it loses its way. And BlackBerry's done that. Nokia.
And isn't that a classic example of why it's important? And museums actually do this. We just don't notice that they actually collect contemporary things. They actually buy the latest versions of lots of different things, because as humans, you forget the history of different products, because, how many people would still have a kerosene heater, or lots of items that just go by the wayside, a washboard, all the computer items, I had a Tandy TRS-80 computer in 1980. It was built in September 1980. It had 4 kilobytes of RAM in it, and it cost $1,000. And it had no hard drive. It had a tape drive, black and white screen, no operating system. It just did basic. 10 years later, there was something that was, 100 times better. I think the first iPhone I think the current iPhone is like more than 1,000 times faster than the first iPhone.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, at least, just
Still too bloody slow.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, when I want to open the charge port door in the Tesla app, it's still too slow. Hurry up. But it just marches on, doesn't it? And people, us humans, sort of forget. We can barely remember our Nokia phones where the 9110 where you'd pull out the aerial to get better reception and stuff.
Remember the Commodore 64?
Yes. Actually, I like that. I was never affluent enough to get a Commodore 64, but it had one of my favorite games on it, which was Gyrus, which is a very awesome game. But anyway, that's a little.
Seeing as we're doing top Trump computers, I've still got a ZX80 with 512 bits of RAM.
Clive Sinclair. Brilliant.
And that was a flat keyboard too, wasn't it? Wasn't it membrane keyboard or something? It was flat.
Horrible. It wasn't even the rubber keys of the Spectrum. It was the.
Sinclair make a three-wheeler. He had a three-wheel car, didn't he, or something like that?
I think.
The Sinclair C5. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a story.
In the back bedroom here, I've got an amplifier, one of the very first transistor amplifiers by a company called Quad in the UK. It's got something like about 30 transistors in it. The latest iPhone, I think if I remember correctly, has got 14 billion transistors in it.
We could make transistor radio.
Hit your heart out.
Oh, there you go,
Richard.
There we go.
That's it.
Look how good that is. Look at that. It's a work of art.
It is.
It's a good paperweight.
That could power a real black and white screen, couldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Power real,
one with an electron gun that actually shoots electrons towards a phosphor screen. What's
In
that,
fact,
Mum?
actually, they weren't black and white then. They were actually green and black, weren't they?
Yes.
Oh, actually, were you? No, they were more expensive. on my Trash 80, it was a black and white screen.
Was that
but
black
you could
and
buy-
white?
It was black and white.
Yeah,
But you could
'cause
actually.
the IBMs, I think, were green and black.
Yeah, but you could actually buy. I bought a green screen adapter, and all it was a green piece of Perspex that you'd tape onto the front of the screen, and you turn it into a green screen. And because green's nicer on your eyes, easier on your eyes.
Yeah.
And,
Harold, you capo.
But hey, Pete, I when I was in grade 7, I could type out essays on my computer on a sort of a word processor. Didn't have spell check, of course, and I had a 9-pin dot matrix printer, impact printer, that didn't have below the line descenders. So the G's would be up in the air and all that sort of stuff. And it had fan fold paper, and I could print my essays and not have to write them out. It was very, very flash. But anyway.
Well, now you don't even have to think of them. Now you just get ChatGPT to do it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should have a show that is just run by ChatGPT, and we could just ask it questions, and it could just regale us for 3 hours or 4 hours.
Easily done.
Oh dear. All right. We got any Tesla questions or comments? Obviously Tesla's share price. I don't know if Carmen's going to join us later, but we might just preempt it. It's been great to see Tesla's share price sort of recovering a lot after the earnings call and the report. I think they've bounced back something like more than 50%. Yes, yeah, they're 173 last night, and on the pre-open,
They're up a couple of percent in the pre-open.
they're up a little bit. Let's get that thing to refresh. Don't know why I'm not refreshing. Let's try that again. That didn't work very well. Let's try Tesla. Come on. There we go.
7,322.
175, they're up on the pre-open.
Yes.
Yeah, 175 and a bit. They're not open. They haven't opened yet. The market opens in about 50 minutes.
This is good.
But it's certainly great from their. I think their 12-month low is $101. So for them to recover is pretty good. Even better than what Elon Musk sort of anticipated in the earnings call. I think he did sort of rightly say that short term it's a voting market, a voting machine, and long term it's a weighing machine, and there's going to be volatility. But yeah, it's good to see Tesla's healthy at the moment. Not that that's investment advice or anything like that, but
You know what?
Go, Pete.
Sorry, go. No, you go.
No, you go. You go.
Well, you know what the stock rally is based on? It must be that rumor that Tesla is going to be shipping their cars by plane from Mexico.
I saw that, and I'm really glad you mentioned that, because when I looked at it, and this was a presidential spokesperson said that they're going to house the factory near the airport so they can air freight cars for export. I just knew straight away that was nothing but bullshit. It was just, and the only polite way to say that is nothing but bullshit. Because, only if you live in, Mark, what's that place in London where all the billionaires live? It's one small suburb. No. All of the Middle Eastern oil sheikhs and all that, they bring their McLaren F1s, they air freight them with them on holidays, and they load them in the Kensington. Is it Kensington?
Okay.
It might.
There is Kensington is an area where there's an awful lot of electric vehicles. Kensington, but that's city.
It's somewhere in London, and that's. No, I think maybe it's Kensington or something like that. And
Chelsea, Westminster?
No. I think it might be Kensington.
Westminster, Belgravia is another expensive bit.
Right, and they basically bring their F1s McLaren F1s and Bugatti Veyrons and all that sort of stuff, and they bring them with them on holidays, and they just leave them. They're all on street parking, just to show off. And they will air freight them for dozens of thousands of dollars. I mean, there's just zero chance. Even if it was a Roadster, it wouldn't be worth air freighting Roadsters as expensive as they.
It's like Canon Monaco was like that anyway.
Yes.
Mayfair's another very rich spot. Just go around the Monopoly.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yes, not Old Kent Road. No.
50 quid.
But yeah, so basically, I'm glad you mentioned that, Pete, because I looked at that article and I just went, "There's literally this is just total bullshit. It's just hilarious that."
I can't even think what they would actually air freight.
Well, he was alleging
I can't think what they would air freight.
I know what you might air freight. Optimus. That would be the only thing that would be worthwhile air freighting is maybe Optimus, but.
You just use a passenger line and it'll all walk on and all walk off.
Oh, that would
that would be brilliant. A Boeing or a 380.
And they're all sitting there paying attention and being courteous by watching the safety demonstrations. Oh. They might get confused when they get
like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy when they found that ship that had been there waiting for X thousand years.
Imagine the poor cabin crew. The cabin crew would be all eager to provide meals and stuff, and all these Optimuses or Optimi would go, "Oh, I don't really want any food, thanks." But then they might plug themselves into the power points and overwhelm the power supply on the plane to recharge themselves.
Good do.
You'd
be up for a charge for that one.
Absolutely. But yeah, so that's just a total bullshit story. It's hilariously stupid. And the fact that Reuters actually put it up as, I mean, where's their filter? Where's their bullshit detector?
What do you guys think about ARC's price targets? Like they were as high as 7,000 for 2026, but I think they've dropped it now to 4,000, and it just does seem like a long runway. But definitely, I mean, the current slump is a good time to buy. But yeah, I guess it's all predicated on volumes and based on the factory and production, then sort of reaching 600,000-700,000 units per gigafactory a year for a particular.
You better do a warning.
Yeah, so we'll just preface it with we'll just preface this little segment with this little personal advice.
The following segment is general
Just
in
in case
nature
somebody's listening.
and shouldn't be taken as personal professional advice. Listeners should seek their own independent assessment from a qualified advisor and not rely on the general nature of information in this program.
It sounds like ChatGPT.
You're right, David. It's all about growth. So, Elon Musk and Tesla have said, actually they keep restating it at every earnings call, that their end goal is 20 million cars by the end of this decade.
Wow.
That's 15 times as many cars as they produced last year.
Yeah.
And the great thing too is that as they keep scaling higher and higher and higher, their costs per item reduce lower and lower and lower as they get the what do you call it?
Economies of scale.
Yes, economy of scale. So, Tesla have already got an embarrassment of cash. I mean, they've got $22 billion, and they've only earned those $22 billion in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Because up to all of Tesla's history, they had retained losses, and then in 2021, they were all erased, all of them in 1 year. And then last year they just went from, let's call it neutral, zero retained profit, to having $20 billion worth of cash. And that's cash after they've invested dozens, or at least a couple of dozen $1 billion in gigafactories.
Yeah.
And, so if you just take Tesla's raw numbers today and just say it's going to be a business that's 15 times bigger in 8 years' time, well, if you just got Tesla's share price today and just multiplied it by 15 times, that's kind of getting you part the way there.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's also ignoring. I mean, the mega Tesla Energy, you know, they've been losing money ever since they sort of started that division up until last year, and now they're turning positive because of economies of scale, and you know.
And now they've got batteries.
Exactly, because up until early last year, Tesla's biggest issue was being cell constrained, battery constraints for all products, energy storage and cars. They no longer say that. They say we're no longer cell constrained. But with the energy business, which again is basically ignored, it's a rounding error on Tesla's share price or share value. You know, they produce 6.5 gigawatt hours of battery storage, or sold or installed 6.5 gigawatt hours. Their Lathrop factory will expand to 40 gigawatt hours per annum. Actually, there was a really good graph I saw. I think it might have been, I don't know if it was in the earnings call, but there was a graph made that showed that in 2013, I think, when Tesla had planned the Gigafactory, and I think it was JB Straubel and Elon Musk literally on the back of an envelope going, well, if we want to make 500,000 cars, how are we going to do that? And this is before Tesla had produced many cars at all. I think they might have still been just roadsters. And they basically on the back of an envelope worked out that they need to build a plant to manufacture lithium-ion batteries that exceeds the size of the world's entire lithium-ion battery production worldwide. And that's exactly what they planned to do, and that's what they did do. So that when they started production, they were producing as many cells as the entire world had done just a couple of years earlier. And that was only for 500,000 cars. Tesla's already producing a run rate in excess of 2 million cars per annum today. And that's with Texas barely ramping at all, and Brandenburg the same, but Tesla Giga Berlin.
Yeah.
You know, and they keep understating. It's funny, in their shareholder deck, they keep understating Shanghai's production capacity. They just say, I think they say greater than 750,000. Well, it's actually beyond 1 million already.
Wow.
So, you know, so that's the short-term growth. But again, Tesla will get to 20 million cars by the end of this decade. And then you've got to factor in the energy, you know, producing 40 gigawatt hours of energy storage.
And Elon has said several times that he thinks the energy has the potential to be bigger than his car manufacturing.
And to grow faster, yes. So the car manufacturing, to get to 20 million from 2020 numbers, you need to do 50% compound annual growth rate of 50% growth, which Tesla is going to be achieving. But the energy might be 75% annual growth rate, 100% perhaps from time to time, or more. Who knows? And then that ignores. So there's the car value. So there's Tesla, the car company. There's Tesla, the energy storage company. If you're sort of concerned that Tesla might not grow greatly, just imagine the Optimus project, which again has got. I'm sure that analysts have got literally $0 on their net present value for that business line, zero, because they don't know how to value it. It's impossible. Elon Musk talks about that if and when Optimus becomes successful, it may actually redefine the global economy, and it might redefine what labor is and what labor costs are, and maybe we'll all just be sitting back, you know, on a 24/7 Talk or Ask Us Anything, sipping on pina coladas, while all these robots do all the manual labor. ChatGPT does all the manual thinking, and we just sit back and enjoy the ride and get a universal wage of, I don't know, $500,000 a year or something. Who knows? But yeah, so Optimus, you know, that's another sort of offshoot. But the thing is, it's owned by Tesla. So
and that's built on the AI from the autopilot.
Yeah, and then
there's all the synergies, and then
it's all the synergies, and the batteries and all the actual actuators are all based on actuators and stuff that has been developed because they've done the stuff on the cars and they've done the manufacturing.
But don't forget all the. Oh, go on. Sorry.
I was just going to say, and we sound like Tesla fanboys, but he's made an awful lot of predictions that you just look at the predictions and you look at what has happened, and he's got it exactly right. Not even close. He's got it exactly right.
Well, what I said previously,
you've got to be really bad to doubt him.
Yeah, well, that 2015 prediction of 500,000 cars by 2020, I think it was off like 2,000 cars. But that's if you use the deliveries. If you go by production, he said production, not deliveries. They actually exceeded 500,000 in 2020. And in 2022, there were 1.3 million. So, you know, and people sort of scoffed and laughed at it and, you know, carried on. And, you know, people laughed him out of Russia when he tried to buy ICBMs. And, you know, I think it's been for the last 2 years now, SpaceX has been responsible for something like 60% of all the cargo that went into space. So more than the rest of the market combined. So, you know,
you're right. The thing is, they're tackling big problems, you know, and sort of thinking down the length of the supply chain, thinking about the volume, and then there's the whole flywheel effect. Once you've got critical mass, you've got income coming in, you've got the resources, and you're right about SpaceX too, because you can drive a Tesla between Hawthorne and is it San Francisco, you know, where the two businesses are headquartered without charging, and I think the fact that the engineers, even though SpaceX is not listed, they're no doubt working on solving problems together, thinking about problems together, and so there's that whole talent pool that both companies are operating.
They do. In fact, they openly encourage engineers to move openly between the two businesses, and there's a lot of cross-pollination. So I believe, you know, looking at production costs, they've got the gigacasting, which famously, you know, Tesla went to, it was more than half a dozen gigacasting or casting companies, and all of them except for one said no, and the last one said, oh, maybe, and Elon said, well, I'll take that as a yes, and that was IDRA. And the thing is, all other companies up to Tesla, when you've made a big casting, you have to heat treat it because that's just what you have to do. And once you heat treat it, it necessarily warps in uncontrollable ways. And then you have to basically use CNC finishing. You've got to get fiducial marks, and you've got to basically grind back a little bit of material to get to a known fiducial mark, and possibly drill holes for bolts and all that sort of stuff. What Tesla has worked out with SpaceX is to come up with a aluminium alloy that and a injection process that is so, I forget how many it's only milliseconds. It's like less than 100 milliseconds, and the entire casting has gone from vacant to full in less than 100 milliseconds. Wow. And the casting doesn't need any further finishing. It doesn't need heat treating, and it doesn't need any further alignment or refinement or grinding or finishing or anything. It's, as it comes out of the mold, it is done and straight to the car. And Tesla, like you alluded to before, you know, they're highly vertically integrated. They don't go to Bosch or others to make a
NVIDIA
car computer or you know, You know, well, even NVIDIA for the
Pegasus, so the driving platform
for the hardware for the autopilot hardware anymore. They make their own chips, so they design their own silicon. All of their subsystems are all integrated. They have, you know, there was a classic story. Apparently, Audi don't want to kick other EVs, but it's not their fault. They're useless. Audi have now declared that they've withdrawn the heat pump from their e-trons, and they're offering a refund of up to $1,000 for people that ordered an Audi e-tron with the heat pump, because they're now going to put in a resistive heater instead, which is a retrograde move. And Sandy Munro, or sorry, it was Corey, I think it was basically saying that what they think is the heat pump that Volkswagen, because Audi and Volkswagen are the same company, the heat pump was so useless that when they did tests, it barely performed any better than just using a resistive heater. So now they're ditching it. Whereas Tesla, and Munro actually showed a multitude of valves and hoses and coolant channels and all that sort of stuff. Well, Tesla came up with the supermanifold and the octavalve, and that's basically combined everything into one tiny package that does everything for the HVAC system. So, you know, Tesla, when they build a car, they build it from the ground up with all of the engineers talking to each other, all on the same team, and they all interact and go, how do we make one part do two things?
And what's more, they don't only do that, that same heat pump is exactly the same heat pump that goes into the Model S, the Model X, the Model Y. The same as when the Raptor, you get these engines, you do one engine and you have 3 of them in the first one, 6 in the next one, 9 in the next, 12 in the next, make them bigger. It is the same with all the bits, that everything is modular. You build one bit, make it work, and then apply it to your other cars and everything else in the range. It's like the motors in the Plaid. Then now the same motors, and now in the Semi.
Yes, and
You
like
have
you know,
to
the Model
design new
Y.
engines for a semi-trailer. They're just using the same ones in a bloody Plaid.
Yep, and the Model Y seats are Model 3 seats just on risers. It's the same seat, just on a riser. And in fact, incidentally, Tesla is the only car company on earth that makes their own seats. None of the other car companies, because they're not really car manufacturers, they're just component assemblers. Whereas Tesla actually manufactures a lot of their parts. You know, so, and the thing too is Tesla, a lot of the car manufacturers, they focus on the car as the product. But Tesla's product is the machine that builds the machine. It's the factory is their biggest product.
Yeah.
That's the critical thing. The car is just a means of earning money. The magic happens at the factory. And that's what Tesla singularly approaches is how do we build it? How do we build a factory that can build this product as inexpensively as possible? You see the Optimus project where in their presentation, they showed that, you know, you've got all the limbs and joints and all these, you've got a multitude of motors, and they analyzed each motor, and I think it was something like 20 different variations. But what they came down to was 3 different motor systems. Actually, I think it was 6, sorry. There's 3 linear actuators and 3 rotational motors, rather than 20, whatever it was, 20 odd. Because they reduced it down to the common denominators on what would do a good job, you know, balancing weight for cost. Because the lighter it was, the dearer it was, the heavier it was, the cheaper it was. But, you know, if it's too heavy, you don't have the benefits. So that's what Tesla does all the time. They never, Elon Musk always goes, what is possible at the limit of physics? And, you know, that's why he can land.
A good example of that, Harold, is remind me, I think it was of the latest earnings call, he had the quote about the 4680 manufacturing space for the next 40 gigawatt hours versus the pilot line. He said the 40 gigawatt hours was going to take a fraction of the space of the pilot line. Just
Yeah, exactly. Because the whole Gigafactory itself was initially designed just for that capacity, but then in a third of the space, they're putting much more capacity. Because in the bit of the Gigafactory that's left, which is about a third of it, or yeah, like about a third is left to build. They're going to have the Tesla Semi line, which will do 50,000 prime movers per annum, and the battery line in the leftover space.
And we'll find out what other exciting new products, because like you said, now that we've got the manufacturing sort of sorted out, we can use it to manufacture all sorts of stuff, not just cars and bots, but all sorts of stuff. So
yeah, so getting back to the original part of the thing, Tesla's value, it's like saying back in 1980, what is Apple's value as a computer company making a personal computer? Because that's what they were mainly doing, was basically personal computers. What's its value? And who could ever imagine that they'd be doing a mobile phone
or a watch,
for that matter? Who
and now
could
selling all the Swiss watchmakers,
or an app store.
Oh yes, or selling music.
Yeah.
You would have just laughed. You would have just gone, what do you mean? We've got LP. What has a computer company got to do with vinyl records?
And you're right too. There's going to be so much disruption. Cars, as we think about them, will change, and how we use them will change, and the so many possibilities that you could kind of think about, but then a whole lot.
Oh, you left us.
Lost him.
Lost him.
Flat battery.
He's gone into the future.
Flat battery, or he went off to go and buy some Tesla shares, perhaps.
Although when you look at Apple, they're much like the OEMs in a way. They assemble all their parts, whereas Tesla's so far ahead with they produce their own parts and they assemble them, but their parts alone are so universal for all their products, and that's just another step ahead again. It's not that they're good products.
That
they're
is
exceptional products.
Apple have done
universal
similar
across
to
the
that, though. Apple have done similar to that. They were the ones who brought their own chips and they make their own silicon now, which virtually no one else does.
Well,
and their silicon goes right across all their products now. They don't manufacture, but they make their own silicon. That's the big advantage that Tesla does, is it does its own manufacturing, its own design for absolutely everything.
Definitely.
Apple just specializes in a certain area, and they want control of that IP, but Tesla want control of everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've designed the chips, literally the silicon for, and that was a bit of news too, is that hardware 4 will be coming out with the Cybertruck. I mean, the bit of bad news is that it's, according to Elon Musk, it's not economically viable to upgrade from hardware 3 to 4, which could hint at perhaps there'd be sufficient wiring loom changes that it's just not worth it. Just like with the Mobileye, the old Model S's pre hardware 2, you just can't. I think Elon Musk likened it to a nervous system transplant. It's just too hard. So that's sort of interesting. But they do their own chips. They've designed their own silicon for that. Like you say, Mark, that they design everything in house. They build most of the things in house.
It's the iterations that get me. The iterations, they just keep iterating on the same thing and reducing the amount of parts. If something isn't needed, try and get rid of it and try and do it another way to simplify it.
There was a gentleman, a former Tesla employee who was interviewed on YouTube. It might have been Dave Lee, I'm not sure, who basically said he was working at Tesla and they were working on the gigacastings, and they were iterating parts of the gigacasting every 45 minutes, and slotting it into the gigapress, into the casting machine, and producing iterations of the casting, and they were actually going out to the cars that were being assembled out the line, and their iteration time frame was 45 minutes as they were tweaking.
With the batteries, the new 4680 batteries, they're up to Gen 2 already, actually making them, and there's Gen 3 that they're actually developing still now, and they haven't even got them into any massive amount of cars yet, and they're up to Generation 3 of them.
Well, if you look at the Model 3 car, how that's changed in a few years. The car that's produced now is nothing like the first. They look the same, but the way they're put together is totally different, and it's so much better. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the
mine's got the
quality of
LFP battery and the heat pump that just weren't there in the original ones.
Well, not to mention the castings front and back, and iteration of everything.
There's no castings on the Model 3 yet, but the Model Y there is.
I think they've got front and back of the 3.
No, the front. Not on the. Not yet.
There's no
but that's
castings at
coming.
all in the Model 3, not yet.
No,
that's what they think is in Ireland at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, but the iterations have been incredible.
And
but they will be. It will be all.
Don't forget the software, Dojo, and obviously FSD, and AI, and.
But software will never stop. You never get to perfection in software. You're always improving.
No. That will do. And that is one of the problems you will run into, because we're all on hardware 3 at the moment. And that will be in the future a bit of an issue.
Well, it's got to be, because it'll take jumps every so often, and you can't go back to the previous ones. That's always going to be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the best time to buy a Tesla is today, because look at in a few weeks' time there'll be a better one, but so what? You can't wait forever. If you keep doing that, you'll never buy one. And
you'll never buy one.
Just buy one today if you haven't got one.
But the thing is, it's always an awesome car anyway.
Well, I reckon
It really
I appreciate mine more every day. It's just so brilliant to drive, and you've got the power. You've got just everything about it is incredible. And I reckon I'm getting better and better at everything in it.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I just like the updates, which I believe was a going back to how it was before. But that new one that they brought the audio controls up, where you slide it sideways, you get to tight pressures, and you can also get to your charge rates, your power usage, just from just a quick little slide on the panel there. That wasn't there a few months ago. And you think that was just there. It wasn't there. You put your indicators on, you suddenly see your cameras down the side of the car. Whether you like it or not, you can move it around now. It just gets better and better.
Yep. And you can, if you with your linked accounts, you can hire a car, the same model, and jump in it, and all your settings will be the same.
I wanted to ask that. Is that working now?
Oh yes. So
when I got into my brother's car, and so he gave me, he invited me through his app to be a driver on his car, and as soon as I paired it and set up my phone key, I got in there, had my profile and my radio stations, my aircon.
Oh, that's moving over. I knew that was coming. I didn't know it was actually there.
It's here, and it also has your navigation. So all the places that you've navigated to are loaded.
Well, that's actually a disadvantage, because he was trying to take me to Carrinup when I was in Melbourne.
Well, that'll be definitely a disadvantage if I'm in Manchester.
It will take you to the wrong Kinross.
Yes, roughly will do.
But actually, Mark, you might have some disappointment, because I believe that Tesla uses different servers for different regions. So when I hired a Model Y in Austria, and I got one of the driver links to control the car, and I tried it on my app, logged into my Australian account, it wouldn't work. It says incompatible, whatever. It can't be done due to incompatibility. So then I had to actually open up another Tesla account without any cars in it, just a new one with a different email address. And I just put an address in Austria, and then it worked fine. So you might be disappointed in the UK.
I wonder if that was because it was left-hand drive.
No, I actually did raise that with Tesla, and they said no, it's because they run a different server. So look, that might be an issue that might be fixed by the time you hire a car in the UK. They might have fixed it. But if it's worst comes to worst, you just have to set up a dummy UK account. Just use a different email address and then do it that way. But as Peter described, if you're in Australia, for example, you can hop into any same model car with your profile and all the settings get ported across. The other great thing too, security-wise, is when you then relinquish access to that car, the car deletes all of your navigation locations in your profile. Your profile basically disappears, and so do all your navigation waypoints and stuff. So you don't have to sit there.
The only thing that seems to stay behind, Harold, is your phone. So
yes, the Bluetooth. That's the Bluetooth, the audio part of your phone. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because I think your phone isn't. Well, that's because your phone doesn't actually get paired automatically. You've got to still do that in the traditional way, which is manually pair your phone. So Pete, and that's probably because
it's probably a Bluetooth thing.
It probably is because
also,
you've got encryption keys and all that sort of stuff that Bluetooth sets up initially when it's paired, and that's for security reasons. That's probably not.
It's certainly probably the case with Apple stuff because they're very strict on that type of stuff.
Yep, and in fact, probably part of the key is with a hardware Mac, so which would be different from car to car anyway. So that's one thing. Yeah, that makes sense, Pete. That's the one thing that stays behind. But of course, there's no private information on that because it's just that it just means if your phone turns up. If your phone comes close to the car, it could latch on.
Yes.
But only for audio. But yeah, so that's another innovation that other car companies don't do yet.
Not just for audio, Harold, text messages as well, presumably, and contacts, phone contacts.
Oh, I wonder. I thought phone contacts come through the Tesla app.
Oh, do they? Okay.
I think that's how Tesla does it. Is the Tesla app needs permission to look at contacts, and the Tesla app pushes contacts to the car. I think.
Yeah, right. So the contacts, the Apple contacts, go to your car via the app.
I think so. I think so. But nonetheless, if like I said, if you give up control of the car, I mean, you can just delete your phone, obviously. But everything else, you don't have to bother. So in the old days, you used to sit there, deleting all your addresses on all holiday places you went to, just for privacy, I guess, because well, whatever. No one needs to know where you went. But you don't have to do that anymore because it goes with your profile. So once you delete yourself off the car, as in relinquish control of the car, it just goes. Excellent. Which is really cool. So
I knew that was coming, but I didn't know they'd actually implemented it.
Yeah, it does. And in the profile, what you should do, because I've learned this lesson because I've had split profiles and stuff, is when you move, it actually says your whole name as like an email address. It's not just your name in the profile. It's like mine says Harold Murphy. It might even have part of an email address or something. So that's when you know that that's the actual online profile that's stored in the cloud.
That's actually quite annoying because now everyone knows the email address that you use for your Tesla account. Everyone in the car or anyone borrowing a car knows, yeah.
Yes.
which, you know, so you're basically giving away the username to your Tesla profile
Yeah.
publicly, essentially, which is, I don't like that part of it. Yeah.
No. So then you just need to guess Pete's password, which would be Wimbledon champion or something like that, or ATP or something.
Couldn't have been any, can't be any further off.
I never used it.
Or password 123.
No, it's Bosco. If there's any Seinfeld fans out there.
I never. It's rough and ready.
Rough
and ready. Bear Grylls, Petrosky.
Yes, that's it. That's it. Oh dear.
What's been happening?
Sorry, Jared.
What's been happening? I missed it.
Oh,
sorry.
it's just another day in paradise, isn't it? You know,
Have we got anything going on this weekend? We driving to York or something? To Geraldton?
Or not to Geraldton. Actually, no, we are. I've got to send an email out tomorrow. On Sunday, we're going to do a drive to York. I did have the hotels. It's the one just around the corner from the car park. I think, it's the Castle Hotel.
It's very nice of Richard Chapman to put up your ex in the background there. That tear must come to Harold's eye.
He doesn't care about his ex anymore.
You know what? It's very healthy in relationships to get over your exes, and I am over that ex.
He does think about the things he's done in that ex.
Like got wife and child now, and life is boring.
Yeah, he had some good moments in the back of that boot at the drive-ins.
No, I can say I haven't actually, but
I can say that I've seen you sitting in the boot at the drive-ins.
I've sat in the boot. Yes, that's right. Watching that Bond movie, whatever it was.
And the other one
that dog movie. What was that called?
The
dog. Something like that.
And the car movie.
Oh, what was the car movie?
Oh, Ford versus Ferrari.
Oh, okay.
Well, that was good. That.
Yes.
Hopefully, we'll be another one coming up next couple of weeks. We're doing another one. So.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So we got the York Drive as our this month's casual meetup on Sunday. And also anyone is openly invited to go to Walpole on Saturday morning between 8 and 1 o'clock, I think it is, because Synergy will be there with a presentation about, or it's like an info session about the WAEV network, the fast DC. Yes, yeah. I'll be going, leaving on Thursday and then overnighting and just answering any questions that there are of any of the locals about EVs in general, just as a show and tell.
When order you come back?
Sorry?
Is it when's the EV thing? Saturday?
In Walpole, it's Saturday morning. And then I'll be coming back Saturday afternoon. And then, probably going to, York for the casual meetup lunchtime.
There was interesting, I went to the EV thing last Sunday up at just past, I think it's just near Geraldton, just before Geraldton, Alkimos. Just
South Geraldton, yes.
South Geraldton, because we were going to go to the charges in Geraldton to get a bit of a charge before we went home.
Yes,
we didn't need
little
to.
top up.
And the and Pred was there running a pretty good a little event that was going on. There was more Teslas, of course, than normal cars. Any of the other cars. There was a really good hydrogen car there. Sorry, not hydrogen. What's the word I'm looking for? Not the other fuel cell. I can't think of it for a minute. The one
It'd be hydrogen. It wasn't.
Hydrogen. It was hydrogen. Yeah, that's right. It was hydrogen. What am I
It's got to
saying?
be hydrogen fuel cell.
It was a hydrogen fuel cell, and you could only fill up at one place.
Yes.
Which was Jandakot, which I thought that's just fantastic. So you can go for a drive for 600 k's, but once you get there, you're pretty well fucked. So it's pretty got the bottom line. So,
did they bring it there on the back of a truck? Or?
No, it was driven there. No, it was driven.
Right.
It had a full tank, so you get back just on a tank, which was good. And then there was a couple other cars there, which was quite interesting. But the venue were very disgusted with the cars being there. They were disgusted at the fact that probably, well, I'd say close to 50 people being there were ordering meals and buying drinks. They were very upset about that. They took up half the car park, and also the cars were so quiet, apparently it was upsetting the locals that they couldn't walk freely because the cars were so quiet. So Paul Pred got yelled at by the owner, or not the owner, but the manager of the venue, quite disgustingly on the day, which I thought was
so you mean for real? So that was a little bit like the experience we had.
Yes, from Morley. It was very much
from Morley.
I think it might have been his mother that was at Morley that was at that venue, because Fred was like getting very upset, and I'm saying, look, don't worry, that same thing's happened to us. And he said, really? I just couldn't believe it. I've done everything right by this venue. I've like told them what's going on. You know, he was in the car park when we rolled up. The three of us rolled up, Alex, me, and Paul, and they marshaled us in, and we were, you know, go in that section, don't take up that room, do this. So everything was well managed, and they just abused the hell out of Pred about these people being there and spending money in their venue, which I thought was absolutely stupid. I couldn't believe it myself, but not very good. Alkimos place, so I won't be racing up there again, that's for sure.
Where was it?
It was the Alkimos. I don't know, some when you go to the Truman Show and all the houses are grey and white, around that area. Like every house is grey and white instead of staircases.
The cookie cutters.
Yeah, the 4 million houses that are all the same, and most of the people that live there, I think they glowed. So there's obviously an old power reactor there from a few years ago. Glowing at the time. It was a nice location. It would have been a great location, but the people were so rude. Not to me, but to Pred. I couldn't believe it. The guy was nearly in tears. He was like really upset. So, and it was a great meet. It was really actually quite good.
What was the issue? What was he upset about?
The cars were too quiet in the car park when they were driving out.
I mean, but seriously, like, what was he actually saying? What was his reasons?
Overwhelmed with too many patrons, probably. They would have made the kitchen busy, and
that definitely was one of the leading points. That everyone pretty much sat down and ate. There was 3 long tables reserved for car owners, and they were all ordering food. And like me, I spent $50 on food, and most people spent somewhere probably $30 on food. So a lot of people were buying food, and everyone was buying drinks. We went into the car park at the start for probably half an hour, and then we went and sat down and ordered, had drinks, and then we went back in the car park and then went. And that was it. And while that was happening, Fred was getting told off by the duty manager, saying, I don't know exactly what the full conversation was, but he came back over to us and he was really upset. Like, he did everything right. Like, I could see, he spoke to the venue. He obviously told them what was going on. They agreed. They loved it. And then on the day, they just got upset that there was too many people and they were buying food. It was really upsetting. So,
the wrong sort of money.
Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of cars, all the varieties that are out there. Were on show. Some of the great models, the Kia, the Nissan Leaf, one of my favourites. Some Mercedes thing that looked like was about $4 million and it's worth about, looked very interesting. The hydrogen car, that hydrogen car was there. That was great, interesting too.
Just a quick one, Jared. Did you ask how much it cost to fill that thing up?
They couldn't tell me. Yes, I did ask that question, and they said we couldn't tell you. Haven't been charged for it. I don't know. I believe
they couldn't or they wouldn't.
Yeah, I think more like they wouldn't, but they did say to me, I did say that Tweedy Forest's partners had pulled out of that deal in Brisbane, I believe, due to they've worked out that it's not actually financially viable to do it.
No, that's the Northern Territory. Is it called Sun Power or Sun something?
Brisbane. I thought it was on.
No, it's the one that's
linked to Singapore.
Sorry, Future Industries pulled out of Sun Cable.
Sun Cable, that's the one. With a huge solar installation and the cables to Singapore, and to construct that cable is more than a year's worth, or is it 2 years worth of worldwide cable production? of that kind of cable. So they need
4,700 Ks or something.
Yep. And that one project exceeds the world's capability of producing cable in a year or two.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that never made sense. Not that distance.
No. But yeah, anyway,
No,
that was Sunday. It was upsetting. There was a lot of Teslas there. There would have been at least, I didn't see photos, but I'd say 25 Teslas that were there. Certainly dominated the market, that's for sure. There was a couple of Kias, there was a Mercedes, there was a couple of the other ones, I don't know what they are, but there was a couple of weird ones I've never seen before.
What was the hydrogen one? Was that Toyota or something?
No, it was a Hyundai one. Yeah, it was a Hyundai. It was a 4-door with 3 tanks, two under the seats and one under the other seat or something. And it looked interesting. And they lifted up the bonnet, had a giant big little fuel cell under there, and yeah, it looked interesting. But you know, when you can only fill up in one location,
that will change, but it'll take a while. Yeah.
Oh, look, we're complaining about charging. Fucking hell. How long do you think it's going to take for them to get high? Oh, yeah, no worries, mate. Yeah, we've got a fuel cell. Yeah, no problem. We've got tanks out the back of, yeah, great.
Well, it's how long it takes to tanker it there. We've got about a third of the capacity of a tank of petrol. Energy-wise, it's not that dense. It's very
600 Ks on 3 tanks.
Yeah.
Today I want to talk about.
Sorry, what did you say, Jared? 600
Today I want to talk about
600 Ks on 3 tanks. There's 3 tanks in the car. 600 Ks.
The issue is that so with EV chargers, you don't need to build the infrastructure again. The electricity grid is, in place already for most parts. So you've got to rebuild the petrol stations to hydrogen stations. And then the problem with hydrogen is it's got to be super cold because it's got to be under pressure. And cold. Yeah, and cold. Because once you start charging a few cars or fueling a few cars and the pressure drops, there's only a certain limit that you can get to, because if it drops too much, the whole thing implodes. So, the number of cars that you could service, I think we were doing the numbers, this is a long time ago, but it was something like 20 or 30 cars out of a $1 million hydrogen fuel station. It's like the numbers just were ridiculous. They were just so uneconomic.
And for a petrol version of a petrol, you need something like 3 times the amount of tankers to deliver it as well. So the economics of scale just don't work.
In fact, there's a very good and if get into economics, the simple number is 30%. That is the in and out efficiency of converting electricity to hydrogen, then back to electricity for a vehicle. And it's 30% efficient, whereas battery electric is sort of like high 90s. There's a very good video that Sabina Hossenfelder does. She's got a great YouTube channel, which you just look up Sabina Hossenfelder, or just Science Without the Gobbledygook. If you just sort of Google search that, and one of the videos from 2 weeks ago is "Hydrogen Will Not Save Us. Here's Why," and it goes through great detail of describing. I think there's more than 6 different kinds of hydrogen. There's blue, green, brown.
Grey.
There's all these different colours. Grey. There is a grey actually.
There is grey.
And it describes whether it's been done with fossil fuels, with carbon capture and storage, which again is useless because that consumes about 40% of the energy. There's blue. There's green. There's all these different forms. Like Pete was saying, there's one version of a car that uses liquefied hydrogen, but that's down to like a few Kelvin in temperature, so it's massively cold, which again takes a lot of energy. But apparently the problem with this car, Well, the problem with this car is it's not the pressure; it's the fact that no matter how well you insulate it, it is going to boil off, and when it boils off, you either use it or you lose it because it's going to leave the car, or it's going to leave the vessel. It's not so much a danger thing; it's just that you're going to lose it. So if you parked your car for a month, you'd come back and it would be empty, say. So so that's a very limited sort of thing, and the energy cost to cryogenically chill it is stupendous. If you
people will say, well, that's the same as parking your Tesla with Sentry mode on. In a month, it's going to deplete. The difference is that you can have your Tesla plugged in. You can't have your hydrogen car hooked up to a hydrogen hose, can you? So
no, and when it's under pressure. So I was just going to say, when it's under pressure, Sabina actually describes what the actual process is called, but it's embrittlement. The hydrogen, no matter how you line the tank, because the tank has to be stupendously strong because it's holding, it's 1,000 atmospheres or something ridiculous. It's or 900 atmospheres. It's huge, but then the problem is it actually being the smallest element on Earth, it burrows into the metal and it then basically breaks up the crystal structure and contaminates the metal and makes it brittle, and which means it's actually got a distinctive lifetime, a safe lifetime before you have to replace it completely. So the costs and all
then
that.
And then there's just the simple fact that if you've got an electric car with the battery goes underneath the floor. You've got a motor at either end. Now, if you get one of those, you've got all those tanks you've got to pick, which can't be flat, so they've got to go somewhere else. Then you've got to have the motors at either end, and then you've got to have this energy converter that converts your hydrogen. So it's taking up more space. You're not even going to have it's going to take up more space in your car anyway.
And by the way, they don't work very.
Space.
Yep, and by the way, they don't work very well in cold climates because you have to actually preheat the membranes, because what it actually produces is water vapor. Yeah, it produces water vapor because it's basically you have hydrogen mixed with fresh air, so through the membrane. But that water vapor, if the actual fuel cell isn't heated correctly, that will then freeze internally and then basically ice itself up. So you've got to actually have active heating to start the fuel cell in cold temperatures. So
but they might come with some free ejector seats.
Rocket Man.
Well, airlines.
And if you want flames out the back, they're a lot easier to do as well. Although you won't see the flames, which is the interesting thing with hydrogen.
Oh yes, of course.
It burns without any colour to the flame.
Precisely.
So you've actually got very high heat and you can't even see it.
Does that mean as well?
You can't smell it either, can you?
No, you can't.
No, you can't smell it either. No, don't smell. No.
But then that's the same as methane. You can't smell that either. In the Dampier to Bunbury pipeline, when they first commissioned it, they actually put methyl mercaptan or something like that, which is the gas stink, down the pipe, just in case if there were leaks. But then, I don't know, maybe some months after they checked everything, they've taken that out because you don't want to pollute the process. But without that, you can't smell it. So you can't smell. There's quite a lot of gases that you can't smell, which can make them pretty dangerous. But yeah, hydrogen's just one of those things. There's just nothing as efficient as getting electrons from the sun or wind, jamming them in a battery, and then storing them and pulling them out.
The thing is, though, it's because people are in this whole mindset of going to a place to pour a liquid, or put a nozzle into a vehicle to wait 5-10 minutes to then go somewhere else. It's like, no, we're not doing that anymore. And it's blowing people's minds.
It's a paradigm shift, isn't it? How long does it take to charge your car? 10 seconds. 5 to plug it in, 5 to unplug.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you're unless you're on a road trip, you're time spent fueling is way less.
Yes.
Emma actually said something well a good few years ago now. She was like, I didn't realize how much I hated going to the petrol station. I was like, yeah, you don't think of it, but yeah, you never go.
Was that just as she said, get out of the house, Richard? Was that the same?
Yeah, basically. Well, if you listen to James, the house is mummy's, the cars are mummy's, everything's mummy's.
It's all mummy's.
Yeah. Do we get anything here? No.
But yeah, it is
I'm
a
gonna have to
totally different
leave,
experience.
guys, because my battery's going.
Oh, okay, Mark. Thanks for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next week, perhaps.
Good to see you, mate.
Yeah.
All right, take care.
All the
Cheers.
best. I enjoyed it. Cheers, guys.
See you all.
All right, see you,
Peter.
Pete. Take care, mate. Yeah, so Tesla's opened just a little bit lower, but not much. So that's okay. We're sort of down. Oh, we did have something. Hang on a sec. Let's just bring that up again. There we go. Come on. Oh, just a white screen of death. Oh, no, it's loading. Oh, take a break from investing. No, that's not right.
York on Sunday, Richard?
No, we're going to. I think we're going to like dinosaur Lego thing.
Oh, Brickman.
We're going to Perth Exhibition Centre Dino Lego thing.
Yeah, Brickman.
Ooh.
So Brickman. We did that. It's part of us.
Yeah, right. God,
When you
sounds
did the
cool.
lights, that's all our lights. So
Yeah, right. Okay, I shall regale the family with the tales of Jared.
there you go. The lights.
Very good.
Very impressive. You like Lego? It's pretty cool.
Oh, Lego's the best thing. I reckon they should make a Cybertruck out of it.
That's what it is. It's all Brickman.
Yeah, so go, Richard. You're going to say something?
No, I was just going to, because my mate Gerard, God, I've got to get his name right.
Gerard, yes.
Yeah, constantly moaning about when he's going to get his Performance Model Y.
Oh, I saw him on, was it Sunday?
Oh, did you? Oh, God, poor you. Oh,
yeah,
did you
I saw him on, he was at the EV show on Sunday. He was coming,
right.
oh, when do you reckon I'm getting my Model Y
Yeah,
Performance?
right.
And I said to him, oh, September. And he nearly started crying. No, September, mate. Yeah, by September, you'll be right. And he was like just devastated. So yeah,
it's very easy to make him very upset.
Yeah, you work with him, don't you? He's a fly-in, fly-out guy.
Oh, he's one of the track inspectors on site. But I used to work with him every day for 5 years when we were up on site. But now, obviously, I'm not there. So, but yes, we're still mates.
What's he doing? He's an inspector.
Yeah, track inspector.
Track inspector. Okay.
He's got the ka-ching, baby.
Yeah, he's not a nice bloke.
Yeah, so unfortunately,
no,
I've just looked at my Tesla VIN, what's the name, and I haven't been allocated a VIN for my Model Y. So
me and Gerard are basically getting daily. Yeah, I'm getting daily updates. Of nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've obviously seen, courtesy of I think it was one of our members posted on our Facebook page that there's a ship coming tomorrow. I think she said
the Ruby something, or
no, not Ruby, Dignity Ace or something, or
yeah, okay.
She's ringing. Your mate's asking me when the Model Y Performance coming. Like, how do I know? I've got no fucking idea. So. I said,
so is it another 500 cars apparently around tomorrow?
Yes, I think she said 500 cars. And sorry, say that again, Jared.
Is it Model 3 or Model Y is coming?
I think it's been reported as a mixture. It's a mixture of 3s and Ys, but no performance, obviously, because they haven't. Well, we don't even know if they've been built yet. We haven't got VINs assigned. Normally you get a VIN, I think it's after it's built, you get the VIN, I think. So, for example, the current wires that Pete and I are in, they were built on the 28th of, I think it's 28th of June, and then we got them.
Pete's Model Y was like January, and then there's February Model Y that came today, and he's got his December Model Y. So there's still, there's a few Model Ys there with Pete.
Look, there's so many wires. It's just why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Why not?
Oh,
but yeah, so those cars were built on the 28th of June, and they arrived late August. So now we're already into, let's call it early February. And I mean, I think those wires didn't come directly. I think the ship might have gone via the eastern seaboard, whereas it's more likely that the ship will come direct from Shanghai. But yeah, I'm just looking now on the VIN, what's the name, and I've got no VIN, so I was hoping it would be this week. I mean, like today, but maybe it's going to be later this week or early next week.
Reno, Richard, I did see when I saw your mate on Sunday. Did he tell you that I saw him?
No.
Oh
no, he hasn't said.
I said to him that my Cybertruck will be coming before his Model Y performance, and that's when he really started crying. He was like fully emotional. So when you speak to him next, you might want to mention that. So.
Jared, I'm surprised you didn't just automatically say 2 weeks.
Well, I was going to say that. I thought, no, I don't want to excite the guy, so I was going to go 2 years.
Careful, he's from Birmingham, will stab you.
Yeah, exactly. He was a bit upset there on Sunday, but then he got the hint. He got the hint. He told me that he was converted once he drove your Model S.
Oh yeah,
that's what converted him. He said so.
Well, because we took a performance Model 3 out from Osborne Park, and I wish I'd never driven it, because obviously, like, you know, he didn't really want to he put his foot down, but I'm like, come on, I know that wasn't full foot down. And then of course I did do full foot down, and kind of wish that I hadn't, because now I looked sadly at my Model S and went, you are slow.
Yeah. Yeah. It just ruins cars for you.
It does. My 4.5 seconds is not quick enough now.
But when you get your Cybertruck, Richard, you're not going to care, mate. You know,
that's right.
2.9 seconds or 2.
Oh my
I can't remember what it was. Or was it 2.7? I don't know. Whatever.
You know, I kind of broached this the other day. I said to Emma, when we get the Cybertruck, because I'm kind of thinking, the garage is just like, it'd be really tight getting in and out. I'm like, we've just done this whole laundry renovation, so now we can.
You don't need to put it in the garage.
Yeah, but how do I charge it?
Just get what do you call it?
Induction?
Post.
Oh yes. Put the charger outside.
Induction plate. Just drive over it outside. That'd be very great.
But or just get the solar canopy, if that's an option.
Just imagine driving that in.
Anyway, but Emma was like, "Oh hell no," and I'm like, "Okay, interesting."
Well, I can see where those two cars are parked now. Behind you, that white wall. I'd just get a sledgy and just start chipping away. It's probably not a structural wall. It'll be all right.
Well, it's kind of is, but yeah.
and all you need is you just need a little alcove. Like you just need a section where the front bumper is, or the back, depending. The front might be smaller profile, so you go front in and just chip it out a bit. I don't know.
Yeah. We've just done quite a lot of expensive renovation to make room for the two Teslas.
Oh, look, everything's got a price, Richard,
It certainly does.
Things change,
Well, I worry about it in 2026. Sorry, Pete.
You still reckon the Rivian's got to come before the Cybertruck, Richard?
Ooh. No, I don't actually. I think the Cybertruck will come before the Rivian, and I think the Rivian will be 2028.
Yeah, correct.
Or So yeah, let's go Cybertruck 26, F-150 Lightning 27, Rivian 28.
I reckon the Cybertruck's going to come next year.
Not to Australia.
Late next year.
No way. Only if someone buys it in the States and brings it here.
It'll be
as a
late.
left-hand
I reckon
drive
like
version and
November,
can't drive it.
December next year. It'll be in.
No,
Zero
two
chance.
chances. Two chances.
All right. This has
Absolutely.
been recorded. I want to
It
mark my
is.
territory right now. When they start
I'll-
shipping December
Let's make a bet. I want $1,000.
2024. Mark my
Oh,
words.
okay. So you're saying December 2024 Cybertruck in Australia?
Correct.
I'll bet you $1,000 it's not.
Ooh.
So just back off on that
It is
bet
unrecorded.
because it's
I'll
this
take
is
the bet. I'll take your $1,000.
no. I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to take it as a bet. But
I seriously believe that there will be a car here in Australia in 2024, December 2024.
yeah, but
What-
that if I look, I don't even think there'd be like for instance, there's a Model S. There's a Model S in Australia now, left-hand drive.
Well, it's Plaid.
No, it's not a Plaid. It's just a dual motor refresh.
Oh, isn't it? Isn't it? Okay. I heard it was a
No,
Plaid.
because what they do is I haven't got the image handy, but you can look up the number plate in Queensland because it's registered in Queensland, and you can actually do a VIN search. So it'll give you the VIN, and you just run the VIN through a VIN decoder, and it'll tell you what it is. And it's a 2021 built dual motor Model S, but it has been fitted with the CCS charge port. So
cool.
it's a refreshed version of the refresh, which has got the different tail lights, which has the larger flap for your CCS.
Yeah.
And as we discussed in the news, that the purpose of them bringing that is for heat testing in Australia, so they can basically give a head office feedback of how it performs in things like charging sessions and driving, charging, all that sort of stuff, or supercharging
And you don't
in
think
Australian
there'll be
conditions.
doing that in Australian conditions?
Sorry?
You don't think there'll be a Cybertruck over here in Australia next year doing that?
No, not next year. Not next year.
Jared, I'd take that bet.
I've got
take it, Jared.
I've got a solid feeling that December 2024 there'll be a Cybertruck in Australia. Maybe not for sale, but there'll be a Cybertruck in Australia.
Oh
Yeah,
but that could be, but it could be like no. What you want to bet on is
I'm not going to take the
one to
shot.
buy, not because Tesla could just. I mean, Tesla does do New Zealand winter testing, so it's
Right.
possible they could
And then
they could bring
Australia
a
summer
Cybertruck just
Yep.
for summer testing of
Correct.
it.
Yeah.
But
And-
that doesn't
and
mean
now-
anything.
And now that we've made the news that the head of radiation, now that we've lost the radiation stuff in America, they're going to be sending all their shit to Western Australia because that's where it's going to get. So that's perfect. Guaranteed they'll send a Cybertruck to Perth. We'll come to Newman to be checked for radiation. So it's a bonus. It's definitely a selling point, without a doubt.
Yes, we were definitely a hot subject of the news worldwide.
I saw Mark McGowan put a post on Facebook today saying thank you for the team, getting it back, securing it, making it safe for the people of WA. That's great news. Well done, team. And then in brackets down the bottom, wasn't actually there. I just ad-libbed. Now it's time to sue the fuck out of somebody. Somebody's going to cop it. Is it you? Is it you? Who the fuck's responsible for this? Because a few people at Centurion Freight trying to explain why a box unbolted itself and fell off the side of the road. That's for sure.
No, it wasn't. It was a bolt, or it got crushed somehow or something. But then a bolt came loose, and that bolt then created a hole for this thing to roll around or jiggle around and fall through the bolt hole
Is that
onto the tray of the truck, and then it left the tray of the truck onto the side of the road.
Wow.
So that could have been averted by that little pellet simply being surrounded by a little box of its own, like anything, a plastic, anything, just anything.
I thought that the interview with the lady from radiation department 2 days ago, saying that she can't believe how this could happen. It's impossible. The balance and checks of moving this kind of equipment, and in her whole lifetime of being in the industry, she's never heard of anything like this. So that makes us pretty special. You know,
We are special. We're very special.
But see, this is, you know, when they talk about nuclear being a, you know, option, and you know, the biggest problem is not in my backyard. Well, I don't want it in my backyard because of exactly stuff like this. You know, it's like when they said the Titanic is a, you know, it's impossible for it to sink. You know, it's the unsinkable ship. You know,
that's right. Because the Titanic, they worked out you could hit an iceberg head on at full speed, and you couldn't sink it because all it would do is crush the first bulkhead or whatever, and they're all watertight compartments, and it was impossible. You could ram it into a pier. You could do whatever you wanted to it. Just don't let the iceberg scrape along the side, just glancing, putting dents all the way along.
Across all the sections. Yeah.
Across all the sections, you know.
It just shows how good things are, though. If we can screw up a tiny little fucking size of a 10-cent piece cap.
No, it's a Tic Tac. It was 5 millimeters in diameter, 8 millimeters tall. It's like a Tic Tac.
If we can be responsible for that, imagine a nuclear power plant. No, it's totally safe, 100% safe. Really?
Yeah, but you can't put a nuclear power plant on the back of a truck. You know.
Right.
The problem is that we're very good at you know, calculating the odds of a coin falling on heads or tails. You know, we know the odds of that just like that. But what if you spin it and it doesn't land on a head or a tail? It just lands like a 50-cent piece, and it just
table, Pete, where there's that one spot that you land on, the house wins automatically. You mean like that? You got black and white, but you got that one spot. And if it lands on that one spot, the house wins.
Yeah.
But then what if you add another coin, and then two of them land like that? And what if the surface that they're landing on is now not flat? What if that's moving? What if you know? What if you can't all of a sudden read one of the sides of the coin? What if the coin goes down and rolls into a sewer and you can't find it again? And, you know, how do you model for that? And that's real life. Yeah. And that's what, you know, that's when people say the Titanic is unsinkable, that's because all they're looking at is the likelihood of the head or the tail. They're not looking at all the other possibilities.
So right now, Pete, a lawyer's watching this and he's going, great, I'll bring that for my opening argument in my defence against the trucking company. I'm going to go straight with that. That was fantastic, Wayne. Now, how about this scenario?
Well, I mean, we saw it last week. What were the chances of this happening?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, they're the fucking door, yeah, right. Oh yeah, that's a classic, that one.
You know, how many times would you repeat that exact same experiment and the guy dies every time? You know,
I'm sure it's been done a few times in China. So there you go.
Do you remember that one like 20 years ago? But the guy was a bit of a strange guy anyway, like in the States. It was like some accident where like some car got T-boned at an intersection and the car like rolled over and rolled onto this guy. But the bit where the car that had like jumped the red lights and smacked into that car had created an alcove or like into that side of that car.
Yeah, like a concave.
Yeah, concave bit to like, which just so happened like fitted exactly over the guy that it hit. And he was like a couple of cuts and bruises, but otherwise unharmed. Like
he changed his
when
name
you think
Lucky, did he?
No,
Yeah,
he was a bit of a strange character, and he'd like watched it like 10,000 times on repeat or something, and I don't know, he was a very odd character, but I'm glad he lived.
There you go.
But it's no different to those guys. What are they called? How Ridiculous?
Oh yeah,
Uh, They're from Perth, and they do.
Drop basketballs from the roof.
They drop basketballs. Yeah, I'm just going to try and find their some examples.
Baseballs, not baseball, basketballs from the Wacker lighting towers to go through a basketball hoop down the bottom. And I don't know how many times they got it. One got it. So
is a socket ball. They throw all sorts of balls off huge dams and get a basketball hoop. But of course, that looks awesome on YouTube because they always get it. Like, you know, it always. But what you don't see is the 50 or 100 takes where it didn't work, and you know, it's a 1 in 100 that they get it. But as long as you keep recording all the results, you will show it eventually.
I remember going to this bar in Thailand, and there was some ping pong balls and some darts, and
you ever batted one back?
I did it at least 100 times, and you know, it was just amazing. These balls flying everywhere. It was it was a whole, and the darts, that was even more impressive.
It's quite a challenge to bat them back though. Like they come out fast.
Yeah, I wouldn't be catching it after where it's come from. That's for sure.
That's why you hit it with the bat.
You make sure you hit it with a bat, because if it flies through, you're in trouble. That's for sure. Definitely amazing.
There's a lesson there for us all.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Always wear a face mask. Pretend it's COVID. Oh, I'm going to bed, boys. It's so late.
Very good. Actually, it's actually, let me just see.
11 o'clock.
Yeah, I just got to check. Sorry, hang on 2 seconds.
10:59 and 40 seconds. At the third stroke, it will be 10:59 and 50 seconds.
Oh, got 10 seconds to wait.
At the third stroke, it will be 11 o'clock precisely.
There you go. So that's a blast from the past.
It is, isn't it? It's been a while.
It has. That's no longer available, sadly. But thankfully, there was one gentleman that actually, I think it was only a couple of hours before they shut the clock down, that he scrambled and recorded enough of it so that he could reproduce it on a website.
Is that the story? Yeah. I remember you saying that, something like that before.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Alrighty, so we might as well, since the bell has tolled, we might as well shut down this awesome episode. Now, we're not going to end it in the way we did last week, so we're not going to encourage people to buy Tesla shares.
Complaints.
Oh yeah, look, there were complaints, and well,
Some
yeah.
people only afford, the Nissan Leafs, so they bought Nissan Leaf instead.
Well, exactly. But actually what you should do, and very quickly before we do go, have a look at some of the Bjorn videos where he does actually test a Nissan Leaf, the new generation Leaf, in Thailand. And just see how...
Tweet?
No, this is the proper Nissan Leaf, but it's a second generation Nissan Leaf, the current version with the bigger battery pack.
The batteries are the Ryobi batteries, aren't they?
Well, they might as well be, because they're not thermally managed, and it's just appalling. Like he just completely explains how useless the Nissan Leaf is, because it could. I think most of the time it would only charge at about 15 kilowatts, because the battery was at like 56 degrees and cooking itself to death, because there's no active cooling.
But yet the NV200, which is the van that it was based on, that shares the same platform, has liquid cooling.
Yep. So Nissan knows. I mean, they know from the first generation Leaf just how bad passive cooling is, and they've just sucking people into buying this. They're repeating. They're doing exactly the same thing, and somehow expecting a different result. It's just craziness. It's just
economics, because destroys their profit margin. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, but it's just
He's such
it's
a great
just
guy.
crazy. But oh yeah. Anyway, alrighty. So Pete, how would you round out this awesome show?
Oh, it's been a while. Stay safe, stay sustainable, and stay ahead of the curve.
The best way to do that is buy a Tesla, join TOCWA, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy.
And making the world awesome.
And go to the tennis.
And go to the tennis. All right, everyone. Stay safe. Look forward to seeing some of you at York on Sunday. And obviously everyone else back here on Ask Us Anything next Wednesday. Good night, everyone.
See you guys. Cheers.
Good night.